Chapter 151, Date at Home. The worry days ago came to pass. It's raining. Yes, it is. The water pelted upon the ground, causing loud sounds. Amane and Mahiru exchanged looks and nodded away. They had a premonition from the weather report, but they still felt conflicted, given that it would be raining for the remaining days of their trip. Luckily, there was no warning sounded, so Amani's parents went to work. "We can't go out unless we're planning to get soaked out there. We may catch a cold as a result, Amani-kun. That will not do. Yeah, let's just rest at home." Both preferred to stay at home, and did not think it was anything bad. They found it a pity that they could not go out, but were otherwise indifferent. Both of them were at home, and Amane first held Mahiru's hand, sitting on the cushion laid out on the floor. While doing so, he watched the mini TV in the room and used the reflection to see how Mahiru was being. It seemed that though the date was ruined, Mahiru was not too bothered about it. Her eyes sparkled as she saw the cute cat commercial aired on the TV. She liked cats, and so did Aman. Thus, Aman thought it would be great if they could raise cats, and touched her little hand, seemingly tickling it. Mahiru gave a reproaching look towards Amani, probably because she was feeling ticklish. She did not say anything, but she clearly was about to say, "Goodness me." Amani smiled at her, pulled her over, and had her sit between his legs. He then put his chin on her little shoulder, wrapped his arms around her waist, and she went completely beetroot. Amane-kun. This is fine, right? I'm not going to touch anywhere strange." All he touched were her belly, back, and shoulder. On a side note, the date had ended, or rather, was changed to a date at home, but Mahiru was wearing the off-shoulder dress, probably because she wanted to show it to Amane. Thus, Amane could feel the smooth skin of the exposed shoulder beneath his shin. He looked down, and as the shoulders were exposed, so too was the collar. He could vaguely peek at the round lumps and the valley that was not completely hidden under the clothes. It was a magnificent view, but some indecent thoughts might occur if he looked at it for too long. He turned his eyes aside and kissed the blushing ear. "Kya, these clothes really suit you." "Ma'am, may you please not whisper at my ear. It is bad for my body." "Bad for your body?" "I will shiver." "What? Feeling cold?" No, well, I feel shiverish." Aman blew at her ear, and she hurriedly turned over. This time, she glared at him with a blushing face. She might pout away if he overdid it. "Sorry," so he muttered, and embraced her body once again. "You are bullying me, Amani-kun." Sorry, I won't do that again, but seriously, these clothes really suit you too well. I don't want to show you to anyone else. Guess it all worked out now we're at home." Truth be told, most clothing would suit Mahiru well, and this off-shoulder dress was no exception. He looked at the white, pearly skin anyone would have tried to lick on, and was grateful for the typhoon. "Does it really suit me?" "Yup, it's really cute. It shows your slender body really well, your skin's pretty, and it really suits you." "That is good. I bought it to show you after all. Amane-kun." "Show me that again." As Amane was embracing Mahiru from behind, he could not look at her up front. He did see her in the dress from up front before they entered the living room, but he wanted to enjoy the sight up close and personal. Mahiru cautiously turned her body around once Amani said those words, and leaned her body onto Amani's chest. He put his hands on her knees and back, tucking her between his legs. Mahiru, who was already blushing, was redder than before. "Now this makes it easier. You are really bold today, Amani-kun." "Well, it's a date. Thought we're at home." Shuto repeated many times the previous day that the male should take the initiative in dates. They never left home, but a date was a date even at home, and Amane should seize the initiative. Amane tickled her cheek, and her reddened face relaxed as she bashfully lowered her eyes again. "I will die if you are so enthusiastic every day, Amane-kun." "I guess if we do this every day." No can do, my heart will be unable to take it." "Is your heart pounding that much?" "Yes." Saying that, Mahiru grabbed Amane's hand and put it in the middle. Actually, it was the back of the hand, but the soft warmth did reach him, along with the strong heartbeat that was much faster than before. The fabric was thin, the heartbeat was clearly felt, and the softness was thoroughly emphasized. Amain gasped as he looked towards Mahiru, and their eyes met. Her caramel-colored eyes were bashful as they continued to stare at his, and it appeared she wanted to say something. "It is unfair if your heart is not racing as much as mine. My heart's pounding at lot." "Really?" Mahiru buried her face on Amain's chest. She listened to the rhythm of his heartbeat, probably to hide her embarrassment. Aman knew then how loudly his heart was bounding. "It really is," for Mahiru muttered happily. "Well, there's no way my heart won't race when my girlfriend's doing such things." "You seem to be taking it in stride recently, though. Amane-kun, that is devious of you. It'll look bad on me if I don't take it in stride, right?" "No, you are always a dashing person, Amane-kun. Thanks for the praise. Aren't you saying this to rattle me more?" Amain had the urge to say so, but it appeared Mahiru's words were really heartfelt, so he swallowed his words back. Instead, he embraced Mahiru, who was clinging onto his chest, and patted her head. "Damn, you're cute," he accidentally blurted out, and Mahiru lifted her head somewhat, looking a little bashful. This little gesture pricked his urge to dote on her, for he too felt he was completely mesmerized. He patted her head lovingly to regain his composure and empty his heart, and Mahiru's shame too faded away as she comfortably let him pat her. It seemed she liked head pats to begin with. This should be sufficient in calming her down. "Say, Mahiru. Is it fine if I consider this a date? We aren't doing anything. I feel happy, so it is fine. Weather and location aside, the most important factor is who I am with." Mahiru said some really comforting words as she firmly embraced Amani. Amani too embraced her gently. "Yeah," he muttered, with a chuckle. Chapter 152, The Second Home. "Say, if this is a date, we've been dating all this while you've been in my house often." Aman did not think a home date was any special, probably because he was used to having Mahiru next to him. Mahiru was practically available at his place all the time. However, they did not seem so intimate as they were at this point, merely leisurely watching the TV, laughing away, having meals, doing their homework, and nothing akin to the date. Perhaps it was this reason that he did not feel tense, or that his heart was not racing. "Fufu, yes. I suppose we have been dating at home every day, no? Maybe, though, there are times when I want to go to your place, instead of it just being at my place, Mahiru." "My house? Ah, no, I'm not thinking of anything guilty. It's just that I'm interested because I've never been there." In fact, Mahiru had been the one visiting Amane all the time, so Amane had an urge to visit hers. It was merely born out of curiosity to see how Mahiru's room was like, but he really could not say anything, as a boy wanting to enter a girl's room would have anyone second-guessing. "I am fine with that. But there is nothing worth looking at, you know. I'm just interested you don't mind your lover's room, Mahiru. I have visited your room often, Amane-kun. Yeah, you'll wake me up, and sometimes even sleep in my room." Mahiru had many chances to visit Amani's room. She would wake him up in the morning, and whenever he was not around, she would drop by to sleep. He remembered one moment when he bought something and wanted to change clothes at home, but found Mahiru sleeping sounding in his room, which left him awkward. He did say that she could enter his house, and she did not see anything she should not, but he hoped she would understand how he would feel as her boyfriend, seeing how defenseless the girlfriend on the bed would be. "B, because your scent is really comforting, Amani-kun." "Well, I can't calm down. Any guy seeing his girlfriend on the bed will be attacking already." "You really are gentlemanly, Amane-kun. I'm glad that you're careless because you trust me. But my sanity can't take it, so watch yourself." "Sorry. Next time you do that, I'll take a photo of you sleeping." "Please do not. Then watch it." It seemed Mahiru was not opposed to the idea of showing Amane her sleeping face, but she did not want him to take photos. He really did not understand what she was thinking. "I shall sleep in your house only when you are around." "Okay, because I have been the one embarrassed." Mahiru giggled impishly. Damn, you're cute, and Amane retorted with some begrudging praise and gently kissed the winner on the cheek. That alone left her completely beetroot, unable to say anything. Truth be told, nobody knew who actually won, and she was really adorable. You are despicable. I don't care. Am I not the one losing all the time? No, no, no. I'm the one who lost, since I'm always mesmerized by you. Forgive me. Mahiru said that she had been losing, but that was not the case, for Amane was often beaten by her cuteness, and hoped she would occasionally aware the win to herself. And once she heard the word mesmerized, she blushed and closed her eyes, saying, I guess that is the case. Amane chuckled once he saw her response. He embraced her before she could realize that he chuckled in amusement, and put her face towards his chest. It seemed she felt blessed to receive this, and she adjusted her posture slightly before she probably found the best position for herself and leaned her entire body onto him. He understood that she was fawning over him because she trusted him. He had another urge to chuckle for a different reason, and smiled. You really like to fawn around. You said I can, Amane-kun. I did. So do as you want. I will become a good-for-nothing. I'm already a good-for-nothing. So now I'll make you a good-for-nothing. You may pass on that payback. Goodness, Mahiru lifted her head, obviously looking a little displeased. Amane gently kissed her forehead, and her face immediately turned red, ringing like a steam engine. I have a feeling you are trying to pull a fast one on me. You dislike it. Not at all, ugh. How sleazy of you, she muttered, and rolled her forehead on his chest. Once again, Amane chuckled, and carefully tidied her somewhat messy hair. Once done, she regained her usual straight hair. The smooth, silky hair felt comforting to touch, and even though the hair was tidied, Amane wanted to continue touching it. Mahiru did not show any displeasure. On the contrary, she looked a little delighted. Thus he did not stop. Amane had such thoughts as he stroked Mahiru's hair like a kitten on his lap. At this moment, Mahiru seemed to have cooled off completely as she rubbed her face onto him. I feel happy being able to laze peacefully at your old house, Amane-kun. That's great. I was worried that you wouldn't be happy about being at my house. Fufu, I am reluctant to return home now. Amane was worried what would he have to do if she was unused or uncomfortable with this place before they arrived, but it seemed he worried too much. You're already used to my house. It is because Shihoko-san and Shuto-san were so good to me. Mom and Dad dote on you more than me. Are you jealous? No. Amane already knew Shihoko and Shuto would care for Mahiru, and she would remain by his side. Thus he would not pout. He felt that his parents were really too fond of their future daughter, but he could understand their feelings since they wanted one the entire time. Fufu, is that so? If you are pouting, I shall hug you. You're not going to huge me until I pout. I shall hug you whenever you want to, Amane-kun. Shall we? Sure. Mahiru stopped leaning on Amane and opened her arms wide. Amane pursed his lips, wondering how he should react. She probably intended for him to leap into her clutches. Given her fine curves and body along with that off-shoulder dress of hers, Amane would probably feel happiness burying his face in her chest, but surely many other incidents would follow. But well, we're dating. So there was a little devil muttering inside him. He would be allowed to enjoy however he wanted, as long as he did not go overboard, and as the desire caused him to falter, he let out a soft murmur. He was powerless to resist this alluring temptation. He wrapped his arms around her back and buried his face into her opened nape. If he lowered his face slightly, he would land upon the soft lumps. He could not do that much, but he brought his lips upon Mahiru's beautiful collarbone and silky white skin, savoring the sweet fragrance of her body. It seemed Mahiru felt a little ticklish, but she did not dislike it at all, and wrapped her arms around his back, embracing him as though she was doting on a child. Fufu, you really do like to fawn around too. Amane-kun. Shut up. You may continue to fawn over me. I shall turn you into a good-for-nothing. I am already one. Amane sensed himself melting, and also that he was melting her. Both sides doted upon each other, bonding with each other, and ended up at a point where neither could exist without each other. Amon kissed the clean neck and lifted his head towards Mahiru. He found her giggling, enjoying herself while still embracing him. You look rather small from here. You usually seem large and very reliable. Really? Well, you're small and slim, Mahiru. It's easy to hug you. You are being hugged by me, though, but I think it is because I have been hugged by you all this while. Amane-kun. So you really belong to me now, Mahiru. Yes, you are mine too, Amane-kun. Yeah. Fufu. Mahiru giggled happily as she patted Amane, and Amane found himself to be near his limits as he lifted his waist and kissed her neck. She then shivered so quickly, for her neck was as sensitive as her ears were. Ooh, please do not leave a mark here. I won't, but I'll kiss you. That tickles too. You can shove me away if you hate it. Meanie, you know I cannot do this. Amane seemed to have heard this pout, but he knew that if Mahiru really hated this, she would reject him, and thus she had no issues with him doing so. Once he gently kissed her skin, she patted his back, seemingly indicating for him to stop. So he did. She glared at him, her face seemingly burning red from within. Amane hugged her and patted her head to console her. Anyway, you hate to go back now? She might pout if he continued to cling on to her. So he tried going back to the original topic. Mahiru was stunned to hear that, and then she showed a faint smile. Not at all, just a little lonely. That's good. Shows that you're enjoying your time here. That may be so. We'll drop by next time. End of the year or next summer. Amon would return to his hometown again after this trip. His parents asked that he show up during the summer and winter breaks, so if Mahiru was willing, he was fine with returning together once again. Shihoko and Shuto would be pleased, and Amane would not need to leave Mahiru for long. Next time, you're not willing? No, not at all. I see, just think of this place as your hometown. Yes. Amon hoped for Mahiru to have a place she belonged, and once he muttered with such intentions, Mahiru clearly showed how elated she was as she gave a sweet smile, burying her face into his shoulder. Result of today's battle: every reader's loss. Chapter 153, See you later. You are really going back, huh? Shihoko stood at the gantry where she welcomed them back, clearly disappointed as she muttered away. All right. Next to her, Shuto coaxed an obviously forlorn-looking Shihoko. Amane and Mahiru had stayed longer than they planned, and they could not leave their houses empty, so they decided to return to their current homes. Naturally, Shihoko was looking reluctantly towards where Mahiru was. It seemed she was reluctant about leaving her cute daughter. To be. Apologies, but I do have to return home, and I have other plans. Don't mind my mom. The sun's going to set if we keep listening to her rambles. You're really cold towards your mother, dear. I should be saying that about you, Mom. It's your fault for prioritizing a cute daughter instead of your own son. Of course, it's obvious I'll try to keep the adorable, obedient daughter who may not return anytime soon, instead of my own son who can return anytime. Amon was in no mood to retort once he heard his mother's flat-out rebuttal. He could understand what Shihoko was trying to convey, but he felt mentally exhausted, and that Shihoko's actions were inappropriate. Amane glanced discreetly at Shuto, whose face was giving the kind goodness Gracio smile. He could not hope for the latter to stop Shihoko. Mahiru gave an awkward smile, one that seemed somewhat bashful, for perhaps she was delighted by this. If there is a chance, may I disturb? Drop by whenever you want, anytime. Let her finish her words, but thank goodness, Mahiru. Yes, Amon patted Mahiru, who showed an earnest, delighted smile. Shihoko smirked away, and Amani played dumb. Well, it's good that Shiina-san has taken a liking to our house. To be honest, I was wondering what to do if she was always too courteous. I think Mahiru just doesn't have a chance to refuse since Mom's too enthusiastic, and that's why she got used to it. Haha, I guess so. Shihoko-san is always so feisty, for good or bad. Are both of you just roasting me now? I think that is a good point of yours, Shihoko-san, and also what makes you attractive. Oh my. Shihoko immediately went from a pout to a happy smile. Amane gave a wry smile and lifted his head towards the clock on the wall. It's about time to leave then. Yes, I guess it is time. They wanted to hurry and get some early seats, so they had to go their separate ways even though they were reluctant to. It seemed Amane's parents understood this. Do come by next time. Shihoko's eyes seemed full of regret when she held Mahiru's hands and shook them. Shuto, in turn, gave Shihoko a gentle look, and once again looked towards Mahiru. Thank you for coming by this time, Shiina-san. I'm glad that the house got livelier. Sasame here. Thank you very much. Fufu. If you argue with Amane, you can just say, I'm going home, and escape here. You think I'll hurt Mahiru that much? How rude. Amane gave Shuto such a glance and was met with a hearty smile. I don't, and if you do, I will wonder how I educated you. There will be misunderstandings and differences, however, and sometimes you may want to be alone or rely on an adult. You may drop by any time if anything happens. We'll always leave our doors open to you. Understood. You may drop by any time. Mahiru's caramel-colored eyes turned moist for a moment, but were filled with delight the next moment. Amane's eyes too heated up once he saw an earnest, heartfelt smile. I wonder if Mahiru understands a little the happiness of a family. Amane had always thought that it would be great for Mahiru, who hardly lived with any family, to understand various forms of happiness in the future. He too gave an amicable smile once Mahiru lowered her eyebrows and smile and gently held her hand. Chapter 154. The colors seen in an instance. The day after they reached home, the first thing they did was to clean up. Amane felt so tired upon reaching home and let it be. The house was full of dust 2 weeks after it was vacated. Not much, but it would be better for him to clean up as much as possible since Mahiru would be staying. Thus, Amane started cleaning the house using the tricks Mahiru taught him. On a side note, it appeared Mahiru too was cleaning her own house, so Amane was putting up a solo fight. Thanks to her, he could maintain the cleanliness of his house, though he might not be considered adept at it. You do not have to spend much effort if you do this studiously. You will expend much time effort because you let it pile up. It was as she said. He abided by her advice, and a simple cleanup was all it took to tidy the house. There was some dust on the furniture, and it did not take him much time. He deftly wiped away the dust on the furniture, vacuumed it away, wiped the windows, and looked at the time. It was past 3 p.m. The supermarket he frequented often held their discount sales starting at 4 p.m. It was about time for him to leave. Now that I think of it, I've become quite the housemaker. He had to visit the supermarket as he had cleared out his fridge before they returned home, and there was no ingredient for dinner. He managed his breakfast and lunch with cup ramen and frozen food, but not for dinner. Aman was to buy the ingredients and share half the cost. It was normal to think of spending less, but still a little strange a high school boy to think of food expenses. He chuckled at this change in him. In any case, he had to change his slightly dirty clothes, so he went to his room. Aman was headed to the supermarket with thoughts on his mind, only to spot a familiar-looking light-colored hair. He instinctively turned around and naturally found only a back facing him. The hair was not as long as Mahiru, and he was a different gender to begin with. It was rare to see such natural hair color. So he pondered about the rare encounter as he entered the supermarket. He was putting the dinner ingredients into the basket. Only to be met with a familiar voice behind me. It's rare to see you here. Ah, Kuju. It was the boy who he was acquainted with during the cavalry battle thanks to Kedawaki. And like Aman, he too had a basket on his elbow. To wit, he had candy and sweets in his basket, stuff more typical of a high school boy's purchase than a main. You stay around here, Fujimiya? Yeah. I don't remember you staying around here, though. Kuju. Just staying over at a friend's place, so I'm out shopping. Wait dinner? Yep, ingredients for dinner. It was obvious on first glance that Amane had stuff that would never be mistaken as tidbits, like raw chicken, carrots, milk, and tofu. Speaking of which, you're living alone? That's really amazing. Well, I rely on Mahiru for my meals, though. I think you mentioned that that's an amazing life you're living. Yeah, I'm always grateful for Mahiru all this while. Amon's food intake would probably be in disarray if not for Mahiru. He could at least tidy up the house, but he was bad at cooking. Without her, he would not have this lifestyle to speak of. I really got to thank her. Amane muttered with a wry smile, and Kuju sighed hard. But well, seriously, you're heads over heels for her, you know? Yeah. Same goes for Mahiru. You sound very confident. I know she really loves me. Amane was never confident of Mahiru's feelings towards him before they started dating, but it was different at this point. He knew she treasured and loved him lots, and understood that her earnest wish was to stay by his side. He realized that he was not thinking too much, but that it was a fact. This was proof enough that Amane gained self-confidence. This time, it was Kuju who showed a wry smile at Amane's deft answer. Well, it's great that you have confidence. Much better than when you two were playing tango, even though you two obviously had feelings. How harsh. It's obvious that she liked you. Well, it's got nothing to me, but I guess it's best for you two to be happy. Kuju shrugged. Amane understood it was praise completely from him, and smiled. Well, Yuuta accepted this, so I guess it's a happy ending. Ah, nothing. I'll go pay up then. Why Katawaki? Amane wondered, but Kuju hurried off before he could ask. Though curious, Amane turned around and slipped the dinner ingredients into the basket, as recorded on the phone. Justice for Katawaki, Chapter 155, The Passing Moment and Confirmation. Aman returned to the apartments and met the man he had just passed by, looking up at it. He never expected the man to be looking at his own apartment, and stood there, waiting. The hair color remained familiar. However, Amane saw nothing of him other than his back. He was not too big and was probably of the same size as Amane, probably a little shorter. The man continued to look at the apartment. Amane could not see the expression from this angle, but he understood the man was just looking up. Curious he was. Amane was uncomfortable with the idea of talking to a stranger and merely passed by. He might be suspected if he went forward and suddenly turned his head around, so he probably would be unable to affirm the man's appearance. Nevertheless, he remained curious, so he checked the grocery bag before continuing. Aman felt apologetic as he passed the man by, bumping the spoils from the supermarket into him, and accidentally dropped it. On a side note, the contents were snacks and emergency food supplies he had put separately, and thus would not inconvenience Mahiru even though they were dropped. Aman bumped into the man and dropped the items, and the man's attention was directed towards Amane. He picked up the grocery bag, dusted it off, and looked up at the man. As I expected, such was the feeling Amane had, since he really did. The man was very handsome, one who garnered much attention. He lowered his eyebrows apologetically once he saw Amane, and an obvious look of guilt was in his clear brown eyes. However, Amane was the one who felt guilty, as he was the one who bumped into the man. Sorry for being careless. Ah, no, I should be the one apologizing. I should not be stopping here and blocking you. His voice was poised, calm, gentle, and deep. Amane heard the earnest apology, lowered his head once again. No, my bad, and muttered so. He was sure of what he wanted to ascertain. There was no concrete proof, but he probably was the person Amane assumed. Amane then nonchalantly passed the man by as though nothing happened. The man probably did not know who Amane was, and probably had no suspicion. It happened in a mere 10 seconds or so, but Aman was strangely tense, for it involved the girl he loved. Relieved, he went to the apartment entrance, and it was at this moment that the girl he loved appeared. Welcome back, Amani-kun. Aman never expected her to welcome him at the entrance, and was flabbergasted. Mahiru stood there, stunned, giving him a skeptical look. What is with that expression? And nothing, just that you just showed up. You did send a message stating that you will be home. No? I want to help since you bought a lot. I see. It seemed Mahiru merely intended to help collect the items. Amane's heart was heavily burdened when he recognized the man, and his heart raced faster. He worried what would happen if Mahiru noticed that man and instinctively turned back, only to find that the man who was standing 10 meters or so away had disappeared. He's not here to see Mahiru. He's just going back once he sees Mahiru. The latter was definitely impossible given Mahiru's expression. If he was here to see Mahiru, he would have approached them once she appeared and had no reason to leave. So, why did he show up? For what reason did he approach Mahiru's apartment and looked up at the level she was living at? What is it? No, nothing at all. Luckily or not, it seemed Mahiru did not notice the man. Amane was a little relieved, handed over the bag of snacks to Mahiru, who wanted to carry them, and took the elevator with her. Hikaru Mikado, is that you? Chapter 156. The Parent of the Angel. It was the night when Mahiru welcomed Amane at the apartment entrance, and Amane glanced aside at Mahiru, seated next to him, wondering if he should mention about the man he met. He was not completely sure, but the man most probably was Mahiru's father. Mahiru did not seem very similar to her mother on first impression, and one might doubt if they were mother and daughter. The man on this day looked very similar to Mahiru, and it was obvious that he was the father. The handsome, kind face, hair and eye colors resembled Mahiru if she was a male and aged. Amane could not simply dismiss him as someone unrelated given how much they resembled each other. However, he wondered if he should actually tell Mahiru. He knew Mahiru was on bad terms with her parents, and knew that she would often avoid this topic. If possible, he wanted to act as if nothing happened. Despite that, Mahiru would surely falter if the man appeared again and met Mahiru. At the same time, he felt she should be mentally prepared. What is it? You have been looking at me all this while. Amane was frustrated on what he should do, and Mahiru seemed to have sensed the stare as she looked towards him in confusion. Ah, no, What is it? Are you hiding something? How do I put it? Please say whatever you want. I shall not ask more if you do not wish to say so, but I am all ears if you will talk. Once Mahiru indicated that she would respect Amane's wishes, Amane spent 10 seconds wondering what he should do, and slowly spoke up. Just now when I went shopping, I met a guy. Yes, is that so? Mahiru might not have understood what Amane was getting at, and nodded first. Amane stared at her eyes intently. The color of those eyes were exactly the same as the man he met. That man was staring out there, staring at the apartments. His eyes really resembled yours. Yes. His eyes and hair colors are just like yours, Mahiru. So is his face. Is he your father? Amane cautiously hinted, and Mahiru seemed perturbed rather than shaken. What are you implying, that someone resembles my father? Probably. So he said, but he was almost certain the man was Mahiru's father. The face and demeanor were very similar to Mahiru, so much so that there was no way they did not have any blood relations. Once she heard Amane's words, Mahiru blinked away and narrowed her eyes. She probably was dumbfounded. You must be mistaken, I believe. Huh? My father has no interest in me at all. He does have a child with his mistress, although they are not married. I would have assumed he never thought of me. He never contacted me for reasons other than business. Mahiru tersely noted, her eyes turning from dumbfounded to aloof. He has no reason to meet me. And if he did, he should have contacted me. That had never happened before, though. She said adamantly. Amane stared at her face and held her hand. And what does he have to say at this point? He abandoned his daughter for more than 10 years, got along well with another woman, and what purpose has he to look for me? Mahiru, even if they cared about me, I cannot think of them as my parents. Those people are just blood-related and not the parents who raised me. The only parent who raised me was Koyuki-san. She continued with a monotonous voice, filled with countless thorns in them. Amane had enough, and embraced her tightly. The thorns born out of the voice were hurting Mahiru herself. She did not seem to be acting tough, but it felt like she was choking herself. The proof was that even though her face seemed devoid of expression, she clearly was hurting. A blank look she had, it looked hurtful. Mahiru slowly lifted her head towards Amane while in his clutches. What? More intimacy. For who? Me! I see, Mahiru whispered, and sighed as she leaned on him. I do not mind at all, actually. That man has nothing to do with me. I see. And I have a new home. Oh yeah. So, I am fine. Okay. Aman was glad that Mahiru could think of his old place as her home, and once again he realized her feelings for her own family as he gently patted her head. Chapter 157. The Adamant Murmur. So, what shall I do if I meet that man? Mahiru continued to lean on Amani's chest, and Amani asked while he gently patted her head. She then slowly lifted her head and stared back at him with a peaceful look. Her eyes showed no pain or hesitation, and he relaxed. Looking back at her, Mahiru seemed a little gaudy to be stared at and lowered her eyebrows. I think you may do whatever you want. Amane-kun. You don't want to ask me what I want to do. He thought she would not let him interfere, but she slowly shook her head. No, it would be a different matter if we met him together, or if I met him alone. Since you met that man alone, Amane-kun, I shall not say comment on what you intend to do. Of course, I wish you will inform me first. I see. So you mean you're not willing to get involved? Yes. If he has something to say to me, he should go up to me and say something, and send me a letter. It is strange of him to hide and observe. I shall not do anything if he is not looking for me, and I shall ignore him. Mahiru was really skeptical of the man resembling her father, but it seemed she would not take the initiative to look for him. Amani probably would do the same if he was in Mahiru's shoes, but she chose to ignore him even though she had a chance to be sure, and once again, he understood how grave the dispute between Mahiru and her parents. Once again, she buried her head into Amani's chest, fawning about. I see. Amani merely answered, cupped her knees and back, and put her on his lap. He gently chuckled when she showed a shocked look, and kissed her on the forehead to console her. She quickly turned beetroot and buried her face into his chest, hiding it. She seemed a little forceful compared to before, probably because she wanted to hide her embarrassment, and it felt like a headbutt into his chest. She looked so adorable that Amain had to chuckle. Well, I'm not you, and I can't say much to your family. I think it's best for me to follow your wishes, though, so I'll support your decision. Aman was still an outsider. Of course, this was merely something happening now. He would never probe further into her family situation, and would only supporting her silently by the side as long as she wished for him not to go further. Despite that, Aman decided to remain by her side. No matter her family situation, he wanted her. If Mahiru said she wanted to flee her family, Amane was adamant about fulfilling it. Yes. So she nodded and seemingly muttered once she heard his words. He put his hand on her head. Relax, I'll steal you away if anything happens. Amani muttered with a voice Mahiru could barely hear and chuckled jokingly. Mahiru then abruptly lifted her face towards him, her face redder than before, and he played dumb as he ruffled her hair. Chapter 158 Discussion. 5 days passed ever since Aman met the man who appeared to be Mahiru's father. Aman did pay attention whenever he went out, just in case he did meet the man, but his worry did not come to pass. He probably came to meet Mahiru, or at least to check on her, and hesitated at the last moment. Otherwise, he would have approached her. Aman asked Mahiru, and she never was contacted by him, nor did she meet him. Perhaps he did not intend to meet Mahiru at this time. I don't get it. Aman understood that the man wanted to visit, but not the motive. The strange mystery continued to leave goosebumps in his heart. Despite that, Amani could not press the matter too much. He could not do anything until the man actually made contact. What's wrong with you? Just something on my mind. Itsuki was at Amani's house with his summer homework and looked perturbed as Amani was merely grumbling away, looking at his assignments. It's rare to see you voice your troubles. All right, tell your big bro here. Aren't you born later than me? Don't sweat the details. Come on. Itsuki probably was sick of doing his assignments. He tossed the mechanical pencil onto the table, slapped his own chest, basically telling Amain to leave it to him. What do I do now? Of course. He could not tell Itsuki of Mahiru's family situation. Even though the latter was a good friend, he could not reveal things Mahiru had decided to keep secret. Amon might be able to talk it out if it was his own secret, but he could not be forthfront and inform Itsuki of Mahiru's secret. Despite that, he was quietly frustrated that he could not come up with an answer. After being silent for a while, he chose his words carefully and said, "If there's one guy who always never contacted you and suddenly showed up, what would you think of about that? Is this about yourself?" No comment. "Oh, sure." Itsuki showed a gaudy look at Amane's comment and seemed to have understood something. However, he did not pursue the matter further and pondered. Got to look at the situation. He never contacted beforehand, right? Nope. Is he a stalker? Not exactly. The man appeared at the apartment discreetly and vanished without a trace the moment Mahiru appeared. He was not exactly a stalker, but there was something suspicious about him. Barely, huh? I'm a little curious about that. He's probably concerned. I don't know what relationship they have, but the possibility is that there might be something he had to verbally convey or something caused him to change his mind that he had to get involved. Change his mind. I guess that's the only possibility for those who never made contact, only to suddenly show up. I don't know how exactly it goes, though. Itsuki shrugged. I guess it. Amane noted wryly. Considering what Itsuki had said, it was not strange for the man to appear, though the reasons remained unknown. Amane did not know of Mahiru's father, how his personality was like, how he treated others, and he had no way to deal with this. If there was, perhaps something happened with his mistress or himself. He could not imagine any other reason why he wanted to meet Mahiru again. I don't know much and I can't say much, but if it's me, I'll definitely be curious enough to try and contact him. I don't like to feel all gaudy and leave it be. It's you, though. Since you're more passive, why don't you wait for him to show up? I think he'll show up again sooner or later. If he's going to give up on making a direct appearance, he would have sent a message, made a call. Itsuki said that they could only wait since they did not understand the situation, and Amane too made the same conclusion. A major reason was that the man was looking for Mahiru, and Amane was helpless. I guess that's that. Amon sighed, and Itsuki's lips happily curled into a smile. Yo, you're working hard for the one you love, young man. What? You're easy to read. You would have said it's about yourself if it's really about you. Who else but Shiina-san's matters would leave you so frustrated? Shut up. I don't have the right to interfere with others, so this is all I'll go. Work hard for your cute girlfriend then, Amane. Itsuki jabbed his elbow at Amane, who looked displeased, and muttered back, I get that. Chapter 159. Invitation to the festival. Speaking of which, there's a summer festival today. Shall we go for it? 1 week till the end of summer vacation, and Chitose suddenly showed up asking, Say, you should have asked that a day ago at least. Her words were too sudden. What would she have done if a man had plans? Furthermore, they would need to prepare to go out for a festival. She should have informed them beforehand. Luckily, Amane and Mahiru had no plans and had not decided on what to eat for dinner, so they could easily amend plans. Sorry. I heard from Ikun that you two are rather busy, so I didn't want to bother you two until the day itself. Well, I'm conflicted by you saying this now, but you should have said this earlier, you know, and it's a little too sudden today. I apologized already. I did inform Mahiru beforehand, you know. Though that was 10 minutes before you appeared, Mahiru wryly quipped as she served iced barley tea to Chitose. Chitose-san is coming. Mahiru suddenly told Amane, which obviously troubled the latter. There were moments when Itsuki would suddenly visit, but Amane never expected Chitose to do the same. Chitose probably came over with the confidence that Amane was at home, but he hoped she would have said so a little earlier. Amane sighed as he saw Chitose happily drink the chilled barley tea and glanced aside at Mahiru. It seemed Mahiru was not opposed to visiting the festival. Amane wanted to bring Mahiru out to distract her, having considered that she was a little distraught about her father. He might appear again, but Amane hoped she would forget about it for the time being. We can go, what do you think? Mahiru? Yukata for you? Eh? No, I do not have any with me. No, I do. I think we have one that fits you. Why? Mom. Amane reminded Mahiru of Shihoko's existence. Who seemed to have understood immediately. To Mahiru, Shihoko was probably one who would want to put any cute clothing on Mahiru, and she would be right to assume so. Amane really could not laugh at this. When they returned from Amane's hometown days ago, there were obviously a few pieces of clothing mixed with the delivered Amane should not be wearing. Do get Mahiru-chan to wear them when you have the chance. I'll leave the photos to you. This little slip of paper was stuffed together with the yukata and stuff, and Amane recalled himself being stunned speechless back then. You're wearing a yukata, Mahirun? I want to see. Are you not wearing one? Don't wanna. It's cute, but it's not easy to move in it, and I might not be full with the sash tied around me. That's just you being a glutton. Hey, you're rude. Chitose really did not like clothing that bogged her down, and she was the gluttonous type. Thus, she did not wish to wear clothes that required much grace, like a yukata. Anyway, where's Itsuki? Ikun's coming over. He's planning to meet us there. You're making it sound like we're definitely going. Fufufu. I think Mahirun won't refuse me. Man, think about how it'll inconvenience us though we really got nothing. Sorry. Amane narrowed his eyes to a clearly unapologetic Chitose, but that was to be expected. After all, he did notify Itsuki the past few days that they had nothing to do, and this was probably the reason why they were invited. Amane hoped that Chitose would have invited them before dropping by, but it was important to change their mood, and he was grateful for her invitation. So, what about you, Mahirun? Are you wearing a yukata? Will I not stand out too much if I am the only one wearing it? If you don't like being alone and wearing that, I can wear it. You have one, Amani-kun. Mom's smart enough to put mine together with yours. Shihoko probably planned for Amane to wear them to the festival. He had completely forgotten to check if there was any summer festival because of Mahiru's father, but in hindsight, Chitose's invitation might be really appropriate. Mahiru clearly faltered once she heard that Amane would be wearing a yukata, and Amane muttered quietly to himself that there was nothing to be happy about a man wearing a yukata. He was not being humble. A female would look glamorous wearing a yukata, but not a male. Perhaps there would be a vibe suitable for the occasion, but Amane did not think it would be to a point where he could marvel at it. Mahiru, however, was glancing at him, seemingly implying that she wanted a look. Well, he was fine with wearing one if his adorable girlfriend wanted one. A yukata on him might look fancy if he was to walk next to Mahiru with one. I'll wear it if you want to see. I want to see. That's a quick response. Sure, but you don't have to be too hopeful about it. My yukata's really normal. His yukata was a deep blue, with no pattern, a red bean-colored sash, a simple color scheme, nothing too fancy. Despite that, Mahiru looked really eager. I'll try my best to look good in it. Amane Riley noted as he patted Mahiru's head. Chapter 160. The Angel's Change of Clothes. Amane and Mahiru began preparations an hour and a half before the festival. Mahiru and Chitose took the yukatas and went home, and Amane started putting on a yukata by himself. One needed to know how to wear a yukata, but Amane did not need to worry about Mahiru. She should be able to wear a yukata easily, given how she wore a kimono before. The problem was Amane. Shihoko did teach him the know-hows, but Amane had no experience of it, so he worried if he could do so decently. He wore it, checked himself in the mirror, and at the very least, it looked decent, not out of shape. The deep blue yukata had no patterns, and the obi was the color of red bean. It was plain. Amane did not like anything fancy, and it was more catered to his preferences. He looked decent in the mirror, especially when coupled with that relatively decent height of his. For good or bad, Amane had a calm-looking face, and the poised demeanor he had while wearing it might seem suited for him. It was for others to decide whether he might look inferior standing next to Mahiru. He was curious as to how others would view and appraise him, but what really mattered at the very end was what he thought, and what Mahiru thought. Once he was done wearing it, Aman lazed around on the sofa. He knew girls needed much time dressing up, and he did allocate ample time, so he was fine with that. Surely she would require more time to wear a yukata. She would also have to tie her hair, which would take 30% of her time. And after that, she would have to put on makeup. Aman truly felt that girls were amazing and respected them. Well, Mahiru's cute, even if she doesn't do anything. But I guess girls look more dazzling with makeup. It's amazing. Aman felt much affection, elation, and an unspeakable sense of happiness as he leisurely waited for her. She probably was done, for there was the sound of the door being unlocked. Aman really looked forward to seeing his girlfriend's attire, but did not turn around to wait for her. Amani-kun. A little murmur rang, and Amani was tapped on the shoulder. It was then that he finally turned around and broke into a smile. It's cute. It really suits you. Yi. You are able to determine so quickly? Of course, it's obvious. Mahiru was a little suspicious, wondering if Amani had prepared his words beforehand, but that was truly all Amani could feel. Once again, Aman was impressed by the keen foresight Shihoko showed. Mahiru's yukata was a white-based color, probably because she was going to be with Amane, and there were hydrangea patterns all over it, giving a cheery impression amidst the calm. The hydrangea were dark blue and mauve, of various shades that looked matured and refreshing. The floral season had passed, but the combination looked harmonious. The obi was a clear purple, emphasizing the simplistic design of the yukata. There was a glass bead at its end, giving a refreshing vibe. Well, you're usually cute, but this makes you look more innocent, more matured, poised and alluring. Well, I can say you're cute, but you're prettier. Yep, it suits you. Is that so? Mahiru appeared a little gaudy once Amani seriously stated his thoughts, looking uneasy as she fiddled the bangs. Amani had to chuckle at that sight. Her hair was tied together with a pin, and whenever she moved, the silver chain on it would sway. This hairpin was decorated with dark blue natural stones and had a design similar to the obi and the glass bead. It had a striking similarity to Amane's yukata. Mahirun. He's always like this. I know that. For a while. Are you criticizing me? Both praising and criticizing you, sorta. What's that about? Aman narrowed his eyes in confusion, but Chitose merely giggled away, and Mahiru fidgeted, looking bashful. He really could not ask what that was about. However, it did not appear to be anything bad, since Mahiru did not look displeased. That suits you too. Amane-kun. Really? Thanks. Glad to hear that. Amane felt that the clothes did suit him, but he managed to get Mahiru's guarantee. He had a feeling it was his own girlfriend being biased towards him, but he was really glad to be praised. He assumed he was being praised, but for some reason, Mahiru appeared to be a little miffed. Did I do something? I guess it's unfair that I'm the only one embarrassed. Chitose-san. Mahiru was flustered once she heard the explanation, and her expression clearly showed that Chitose was right on the mark. It seemed Mahiru hoped that Amane too would be embarrassed, but he would not be embarrassed from this little thing. He was a little happy and bashful, but not outright embarrassed like Mahiru. Mahiru clearly faltered. You're so adorable, and Chitose gleefully noted as she clung onto Mahiru, rubbing all over the latter. Amane was conflicted as to whether he should be impressed that Chitose was deft enough to not ruffle Mahiru's hair, clothes, and makeup, or selfishly insist that only he could dote on Mahiru. Mahiru's face got increasingly embarrassed, and Amane felt that she was really adorable. He let Chitose off as he felt it was fine for the two girls to be on such good terms and watched them have fun with a warm gaze. Chapter 161 Meetup. Wow, yukatas. Itsuki was already waiting for them when they arrived at the station closest to the festival. It appeared Itsuki never expected the couple to be in yukatas, for his eyes widened in amazement once he saw them. It's been days since we last met. Mom sent both yukatas. Heh, Shihoko-san's really well prepared. It's like she reads your minds. I feel the same. Well, since she prepared them, I wore them. It seemed as though Shihoko had anticipated an invitation to the summer festival, given how the items were packed in there, and in a certain sense, Amane was impressed. Amanda decided to thank her later by sending over a photo of Mahiru in yukata, and looked towards Itsuki again. Itsuki was dressed in casual plain clothes, a simple shirt and jeans, but he looked fine in them. It really was a cardinal sin to be a handsome, and one would assume a yukata would suit him too. Yep, a beauty in yukata in quite the eye candy. Hey Ikun, what about me? You're always cute though, Chi. You have a habit of laughing out loud whenever I use facial masks though. But that's cute too. You're obviously about to laugh here, right? Chitose hammered at Itsuki with some strength, and Itsuki's shoulders were huffing in laughter, resulting in Mahiru giving a wry smile. Speaking of which, Amane did see Mahiru use facial masks when they returned to his hometown. He remembered feeling very impressed by how difficult it was to maintain one's beauty, rather than finding it bemusing. Of course, he too was nearly dragged into using them too, but he ultimately refused. He reminded himself that her face was so pretty from the effort put in, and stroked her cheek with his finger, making sure not to damage her makeup. Mahiru then giggled from the tickle. The mere sight had many around them gasping. Once again, Amane realized how beautiful his girlfriend was. Cute girlfriends really stand out, huh? No, it's just that you two really stand out. Not many people wearing yukatas at this summer festival, though. It's no wonder you stand out. That's the case, but that's not what I'm talking about. Ah, whatever. Say. Itsuki shrugged, and Amane ignored him as he gently dragged Mahiru to the site. This little gesture was meant to fend off the onlookers, to indicate that she belonged to him. She blinked a few times and seemed to realize what he meant, for her blushing face looked delighted as she took the initiative to stand next to him. Chitose and Itsuki cackled away once they saw that, and Mahiru did not care as she leaned on Amane. We can't lose now. Come here. Ha ha ha, coming in. Both of them clung to each other excitedly, seemingly in protest. Amane gave a wry smile and looked down at Mahiru, who was clinging onto him. Her eyes looking up at him were filled with trust, and Amane seemingly responded to that trust as he held that little hand of hers. Let's not stand around already. Shall we go? The festival's starting. Righto, let's eat. Chitose expressed her priority for her appetite as she clung onto Itsuki's arm and happily raised her other hand. Itsuki too smiled and turned towards the venue. Amane glanced aside at Mahiru and smiled as he firmly held her hand, following behind the other couple. Chapter 162, Skill and Natural. The festival was in full swing by the time the quartet arrived. The area, usually devoid of crowds, was packed with them, giving a completely different impression from before. The situation was probably a result of a lack of other festivals over the prior 2 weeks or so. One glance showed that not many were in yukatas, so those who were wearing them were often the center of attraction. The main reason, however, was because Mahiru was so beautiful. There's quite a lot of them. Yeah. Don't get lost now. Don't let go of Amane's hand now, Mahirun. I shall not. Mahiru clung onto Amane and held his hand firmly. Amane clasped his fingers back, swearing never to let go. If he did, many despicable men would try to woo her. Surely they would all come running towards such an adorable girl. Itsuki deliberately whistled, "You'll be holding hands anyway." And a man shot back a dirty glare before looking around at the path lined with stalls. Anything you want to look at, Mahiru? Like food? It is my first time at such a place. I am not too familiar. I see. Let's order something then. Amane was a little gloomy upon recalling that Mahiru never went out with her parents, but he encouraged Mahiru with a smile, and she too chuckled. Ah, I want cotton candy. Cotton candy's very filling though, and it gets humid if you leave it for long. Chitose could eat, and probably could finish the cotton candy. However, Aman felt it was better to fill their stomachs before having sweets. He wanted to play it safe and start from yakisoba and takoyaki. But he decided to prioritize what Mahiru wanted to eat. What does a festival have? For food, we have yakisoba, takoyaki, Ikayaki, frankfurters and stuff. I guess we'll probably be eating here, so those stuff I mentioned are more filling. It is bad to walk and eat, though. I don't mind. This is the charm of a festival after all. They could decide what to eat before buying, and it was an intriguing experience to stroll and view. One might say that would make the experience more enjoyable. Aman looked towards Itsuki and Chitose, asked for their opinions, and they all nodded, noting they were fine with it. Amani decided to do so, prompted Mahiru, and ventured into the crowd. They frequented the stalls, strolled about, bought some snacks, and spotted the common shooting. The one stall Amain would have associated with a festival was the shooting stall. It was a rare opportunity, so a man wanted to play, but he was fine with skipping it if Mahiru had no interest. Mahiru held his hand and looked around at the stalls, her eyes sparkling. She looked over where Amain was looking and blinked away. Aman-kun, what is that? That? A shooting game. You aim for the prizes with toy guns and shoot them down to take them home. You want to play? A man felt that one should always try everything to gain experience, so he took his wallet out and shook it. Mahiru looked a little perturbed, but her curiosity probably got the better of her. She nodded. He quietly cheered in his heart and handed money to the stall owner, received the toy gun and 5 rounds, loaded them, and gave it to Mahiru. He managed to load the gun without the assistance of the owner, and there was no doubt it was because his parents brought him to countless festivals. All right, done. Which one? That. It looks cute. Mahiru pointed at a hairpin packed in a plastic box. It had a hydrangea-shaped decoration and was a match for the yukata Mahiru was wearing. It too had an adorable design. However, Amane's experience told him that that item was often positioned in a difficult manner to shoot down and would not recommend any novice to try that as the first target. Nevertheless, he wanted to respect Mahiru's wishes and did not mention that. Instead, he taught her how to shoot it, how to position herself, and the rest was up to her. It's a toy, but it's a great sight seeing a pretty girl wielding a gun, so he thought as he looked at Mahiru, who raised the gun with a really serious look and squeezed the trigger. A single click, the round was fired and hit the cloth behind. Ooh, it is difficult. Well, honestly, it's already tough to aim for your first attempt. The prize was not too far away, but the difficulty was still not to be underestimated. She had to adjust her angle based on the power of the gun and the firing speed, and ensure that she did not shake when firing. The gun, too, had its own temperament, and one might not be able to graze the target without taking these factors into account. Man, that's deep. Aman recalled the useless skills and knowledge his parents taught him, and chuckled. Mahiru misunderstood in thinking that Amani was laughing at her. I shall hit it this time, loaded the round as Amani taught her, and fired away. She never hit one, though, and all that enthusiasm was deflated as a sigh. Mahiru looked very dejected as she received the somewhat many participation prize stick snacks. I did not hit. Well, it's your first time. Yeah. It's the same first experience for everyone. And Amain will take revenge for you anyway. Heh, I want to see Amain acting cool here. Don't make it sound easy when it doesn't concern you. Aman intended to challenge next if Mahiru did not get what she wanted, but it would be troublesome if he could not, especially when Chitose made it sound so easy. Mahiru, however, continued to look at the hairpin longingly and lifted her head towards Amani. I want that. I guess I have to work hard. Mahiru looked so adorable as she stared up towards Amani, and surely this fawning technique was taught by Chitose. Guess I can't miss now. Amani noted wryly, paid the owner, and received the rounds. It had been a while since he last played, and he did not know if he could do well. He felt the gun, relaxed, positioned himself, and squeezed the trigger. He fired in a fluid manner, and soft cork bullet hit the box with the hairpin, grazing it. The box tumbled a little, but did not fall. Ah, too bad. No, that's fine. It's just to see how the bullet fires, the power, and how the gun acts. He did not think that he had to hit it down on first try. It was a test, and he did merely graze the item. Given the touch, the feeling of the shot, and the hit on the prize, however, Aman assumed the gun provided by this shop was decent. Due to certain reasons pertaining to the gun, there were moments when he could not shoot the target down. But Aman felt this was fine. He should be able to shoot down most of the items as long as he aimed and hit them well. He was relieved that his reflexes were not dulled, loaded again, and took aim. He intended to shoot every item in the stall for Mahiru's sake, whether it was the large toy that was the grand prize, or anything else. Since Mahiru wanted the hairpin, however, that was all he aimed for. It's nostalgic. Back during elementary school and middle school, he was often brought out to such festivals. He recalled these moments and silently squeezed the trigger. This time he hit somewhat above the center of the box. The box might not fall even if he did shoot it right down the middle. Amane was more concerned with stumbling it, breaking its balance, and fired another shot, which shook and knocked down the box as expected. There was a slight commotion, for the onlookers probably witnessed it. He felt it would be awkward if he missed it, and used the remaining rounds to shoot down a few snacks that appeared easier to snatch, winning them. The owner smiled, but was cringing a little. I guess I'll ruin his business if I take down too many of them. Amane shrugged as he recalled how Shihoko was barred from playing as she won too many prizes. Sorry about that, and collected his winnings. This good enough. Amane turned around, raised the hairpin box he received, and Mahiru nodded bashfully. Treeth? Thank you. I never thought you would be able to shoot it down. Why are you able to get it? Well, I'm good at this. Wah, handsome, you annoy me. Why? Cheetos was the one who prompted. But she ended up grumbling, and once again, Amane felt how unreasonable it was. You're good at such things, aren't you, Amane? You always get high scores at the arcade shooting games. My family spent a lot of effort teaching me these useless things, saying that it'll enrich my life experiences, but you managed to get what Shina-san wanted because of this. Isn't this good? You're right. Aman was really grateful to his parents, since it was a fact that he got what Mahiru wanted. I don't know if I'm good enough to call this a skill, though. Amane chuckled as he took the hairpin out of the box, gently lifted her bangs and fastened it. The hairpin really suited the yukata, and there was a sense of uniformity along with the mood. Yep, it's cute. It really suits you. The hairpin had a simple, cute design and was convenient, really suitable for Mahiru. Amane leaned over, smiled at Mahiru, and her face turned red as she went, "Thank you." He realized this was Mahiru being embarrassed, and Itsuki said something of ambiguous meaning. Man, you're just dedicated to Shina-san. Amane patted Mahiru's head once he saw how embarrassed and happy she was, ignoring Itsuki. Chapter 163, Self-Confidence. Mahirun's looking happy. Mahiru appeared to be really happy once she put on the hairpin Amane won. She was so elated that Chitose had to comment on it. Her sweet smile was blooming like flowers, charming everyone around them, and it was so potent it might shoot into the hearts of many males. The angel could imprison the hearts of many men in this state, but that smile had a devilish charm to it. It appeared Itsuki had witnessed Mahiru in such a good mood for the first time, for he looked disturbed and gaudy. Even Amane, who should have built up some form of resistance, could not stop his heart from beating wildly. Oi, Amane, stop her, man. I feel the same. She's adorable, but us victims are suffering. It would be bad if Mahiru was to do anything careless. Amane gently held the hand of the blissful-looking Mahiru and brought his face to her ears. Look, Mahiru, it's great that you're happy, but don't show this look to anyone else. You may get abducted by a bad guy, and show me that cute expression when we're alone. I want that to myself. That's why I don't want to show it to anyone. He muttered with a voice only she could hear, and her face immediately turned red like a boiler. The earnest cuteness of her frantically shaking her head truly was amazing. But the hairpin she just put on was dislodged. A man tried to stop her as he adjusted the hairpin and patted her cheeks. This time she froze and gently rested her head on Amani's elbow, covering her face. Guess she's embarrassed. So he thought as he held her hand with his finger pads. She reacted, so it seemed it did not exceed her emotional capacity completely. You two there. Our eyes will go blind if you two can't stop flirting away there. Can't help it. Mahiru's cute. No, it's your problem. And it started because of you, seriously. I want to see what those girls calling you gloomy will say now. What's with you? Mahirun's weak to you after you've awakened? Huh? You're getting more destructive now. What do you mean, awakened? Amon looked dumbfounded towards Mahiru, who was next to him, and found her glaring towards him for some reason. Amane-kun, I shall return those words back at you. Oh, okay. Definitely. Amane nodded once she said so, and she seemed a little relieved as she pressed her forehead onto his elbow. He let her be, thinking she preferred to make contact like this, and saw Chitose leering. Your natural tendency to dote on Mahiru is the same as usual. Dote say, well, Mahirun seems to be in a good mood, so I'm not going to stop you anyway. I'm hungry. Shall we have fried squid there? It's so sugary that I want some salty stuff. You haven't had salty stuff, right? That's not what I'm talking about anyway. Let's go. Just take it as you being considerate for everyone around us. Amon looked around once he heard those words and met the blushing onlookers in the eyes. Both males and females were probably fatally shot by Mahiru's bashfulness and cuteness. Definitely so, since there were also some looks of jealousy from a few males. He regretted causing Mahiru to be embarrassed at a crowded place, and did as Chitose advised, holding Mahiru's hand as they went towards the fried squid stall. Eating this at a festival really tastes different, though it's because of the mood. Chitose had eaten yakisoba and fried chicken, and at this point, she was joyously chowing down on the fried squid. They were eating at the rest area, slightly apart from the road where the stalls were set up. However, they could sense some passing stares. Well, Mahiru and Chitose are pretty girls, even though they're of different types. Mahiru was the cute and innocent, while Chitose was lively and had a boyish charms. They were very different, but they were certain pretty girls, so it was no wonder they garnered much attention. This Chitose fed some fried squid to an excited-looking Mahiru. There were many male stares locked in upon seeing these two cute girls interacting with each other. Mahiru showed a tender smile, probably because it was delicious. Some boys sighed in amazement, probably because the scene before them was like a picture. How cute. They're cute, but they got passionate without me. What? You jealous? What's there to be jealous about relationships between girls? Haha, just look then. I think that's really great. There's something different about pretty girls having fun together. Itsuki said something rather perverted, but Amane did understand how he felt, somewhat. If he said so, however, he would be deemed the pervert. He kept the thoughts to himself as he saw those two chatting intimately. Shina-san, there was a voice from nearby. They turned around and found a few male classmates looking at the girls. They seemed to be enjoying the festival too. Some were wearing masks, some holding cotton candy bags, and they clearly were having fun. Itsuki was the first to respond, giving the usual hearty smile as he waved towards them. Whoa, you guys are here too. You're definitely here if Shirakawa-san's here. Itsuki. Oh, Fujimiya should be here too. Over here. Amon merely raised his hand and did not wave at them. The boys broke into a commotion. A yukata? Can't I? No, you look good in that. Just wearing it like normal clothes. Amon did not do anything other than wear yukatas, and was looking really normal. However, it seemed they felt the yukata gave a little mood compared to usual. Amon felt indescribably awkward and ticklish as the boys stared at him, and he started to grimace. He was relieved, however, when Mahiru leisurely strolled towards him. Ah, it has been a while, or not. I believe we met at the closing ceremony. Everyone looks energetic. Wo Shina-san in yukata. All the classmates were mesmerized, without exception. It was to be expected. So Amane did not mind as he too looked at Mahiru, who noticed his stare and blushed. Their classmates froze at this mere sight, and one could clearly see how adorable Mahiru was. Shina-san, the yukata suits you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear this. It seemed Mahiru would only be embarrassed whenever Amani praised her, for she accepted those praises with the beautiful outdoor smile. You wore it yourself? Yes, but Aman-kun's mother prepared this for more. Mom sent it over because she wants to see you in that. Don't mind her. She dotes on you so much that she'll do anything. Shihoko probably would prepare another kimono in the coming year. She had a few at home, and her parents, Amani's maternal grandparents, had more in stow. Thus, Shihoko would surely pick them to her heart's content. Good going. Please continue. So Amani quietly thought to himself once he realized that he would be able to see her in more kimonos. But I really do feel apologetic about this. It's fine. Our old place is basically yours. His parents really welcomed Mahiru, saying that she could take their place as her hometown. They probably would be sad to hear her being so courteous. Once she understood this, she bashfully nodded away and put her head on his chest. He stared at her with happiness and then looked over at the one who approached them. In hindsight, he was the one who questioned Amane during the sports festival, but it did not matter to Amani at this point. After all, they were mere outsiders to Mahiru, and there was no room for them to interject. Man, have I gone rotten for feeling superior about this? So he wondered, but he had no intention to budge. We'll be leaving soon then. Sorry for disturbing your fun. And Chitosi's done with the fried squid, so he added as he looked towards the ladder, and found her staring at him excitedly. He nonchalantly pulled Mahiru over by the waist and gave them a smile reserved for strangers. Mahiru appeared shocked, but was obviously bashful and delighted as she instinctively clung onto Amane. See you at school then. Ah, ye. Yes, bye, Mahiru said with a smile, and the boys could not follow, giving conflicted expressions as they saw the group leave. The group then went onto the road filled with stalls. Itsuki then stood on the other side, away from Mahiru, bringing his face close. You did that on purpose, didn't you, Amane? The voice was soft enough for Mahiru to not hear amidst the buzz and the music. What do you mean? Like your current posture and the hometown thing. Itsuki was smart and had good instincts. He clearly pinpointed Amani's resolve and plans. Maybe? You've gone stronger. Itsuki muttered, looking either dumbfounded or impressed, so Aman took it to be the latter, giving a smile that spoke volumes. Chapter 164, Angel and the Shaved Ice. Time for some shaved ice next. The four of them began strolling again, and they stopped upon hearing Chitosi's words. They did pass the shaved ice stall, and there should be one before them, but since they did not know where that would be, it would be a little quicker for them to retract their footsteps. What kind of stomach is capable of storing that much? This kind. Chitos slapped at her tummy, but one could only see the slender waist that was somehow comparable to Mahiru's. It was amazing to think a stomach of this size could store yakisoba, fried chicken, and fried squid. Where did the food go? So Amani wondered as he stared at the belly with a serious look. It appeared Mahiru too had the same thoughts, for she showed a wry smile. You do not get fat, Shitose-san. I am really envious of how slender you are. It's skinny thin, and the skin's tight. Praise me more, you two. Chi's really skinny, and it really feels like it when I hug her. Itsuki was often touchy-feely with Chitose, so he would know how thin she was. He was of middle build and was not that fat, but Chitose was glaringly thin whenever they were together, and she really stood out. Also, she had some muscles on her, but they were thin and were not too taut. Clearly, those were proof of her hard work. You are not fat even though you eat so much. I have good metabolism. Well, Chi isn't the type to get fat easily, though this means other parts can't grow. Ikun, come here. Itsuki heard Chitosi's monotonous voice despite her beaming smile, and instantly realized he spoke too much. After all, she was fuming as he mentioned the part she was sensitive about. Moreso especially, since it was her boyfriend who mentioned it. Sorry I misspoke, so please don't kick my calf. But you always say that even after I tell you so, right? Shall we have a chat there? A smiling Chitose dragged Itsuki by the elbow, and Amane merely gave Itsuki his respects. You had to open your mouth. You said anything? No, nothing. Amane did not want to incur her ire, flatly denied so, and turned to awkward Mahiru next to him and deliberately smiled at her, hinting to her to ignore Isuki's plea for help. What flavor of shaved ice, Mahiru? Is strawberry. Okay, sure. Let's go buy some. Chitosi, we'll be off for some shaved ice. Just have fun there. Okay. Chitos intimidated Itsuki with a smile and turned back, answering with a smile. Amane smiled back, tugged Mahiru by the end, and went down the road they came from. They bought the shaved ice and returned, but Chitos's lecture did not end. From afar, Amane saw the duo interact earnestly and shrugged. He then looked towards Mahiru, who was wryly smiling, still clinging onto his elbow. They're not done yet? They really are on good terms. I guess that's how they flirt. Just that Chitose is a little angry. Ah, ha 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 ha. Amane knew that Chitose was not really outright angry, and did not stop those two. He handed the cup of shaved ice to Mahiru. Here, Mahiru. Thank you very much. Your shaved ice is a little bitter. I wanted Ujikin Toki, but they don't sell those. On a side note, Aman chose matcha. He would have bought Ujikin Toki if there was, but it was difficult for the store to prepare red bean paste and shiratama dango, so he could only compromise. So you do eat such sweets. I do remember that you do not normally eat them. Well, I don't dislike them, just that I don't really go out of the way just to eat them. I like the bean fillings though, especially those with full red beans. Amane simply would not do that, but if there were sweets, he would eat them. The only desserts he would crave were custard types, but he hardly ate them, and thus he did not really have any impression of liking them. He liked those with bean fillings, however, for red beans really went well with matcha and green tea. The bitterness and sweetness would mesh with each other very well, and he was rather fond of it. I see, but it is troublesome to cook beans, and tiring to make anything, no. It's amazing how you started thinking about cooking beans, Mahiru. We can just buy some. One typically would not think of starting from the red beans. Red bean bags were sold out there, and most would choose to buy them, considering the labor and time required. It appeared Mahiru's first thought was to make some. I want people to eat delicious food. I cannot control the sweetness of what is sold out there, and most do not necessarily preserve the texture of the beans. Mahiru smiled, saying that she wanted Amane to have delicious food. Amane felt sorry and overwhelmed with love once he heard those moving words, and did not know whether he should relax or tense up. I'll have some matcha pudding with red bean paste then, and dorayaki. Fufu, sure, leave it to me. I can do anything as long as it is for you, Amane-kun. She said these words that might not seem an exaggeration from her, and had a mouthful of shaved ice. Amane was indescribably embarrassed, and too put the shaved ice to his mouth to hide his shame. Chapter 165, Angel and Chitosi's Troubles. Matcha pudding sounds good. Amane was eating his shaved ice, and it appeared Chitose had eavesdropped while having her heart-to-heart talk with Itsuki, and approached them enviously. Done punishing Itsuki? Of course, Ikun's too rude here, right? Chitose gave a thumbs up, while Amane and Mahiru grimaced away, looking over to where Itsuki was, and found no one there. Where's Itsuki anyway? Went off to buy shaved ice and chocolate banana. There's more. That's compensation. Chitose then turned her head aside. Amane thought to himself that Itsuki was going to spend all his money, but he did not sympathize, since the latter was at fault. Itsuki had stepped on the landmines a few times, but never learned his lesson. This might be an interaction, skinship to them, but him angering someone was nothing praiseworthy. It appeared Chitose kicked up quite a long fuss this time, for she continued to pout away. I don't want them this small mean prefer Mahirun's size after all. What? What are you saying? Mahiru quickly covered her chest. She clearly had a larger rack than Chitose, and Amane felt hers was bigger than average. But he never really paid attention to them, for she would be ashamed if he was too bothered. I'm not jealous, just a little envious of Mahirun. Mahirun has many things I don't have. She's pretty, nice body, athletic, Good at studies, can do housework, elegant. She's a man's ideal. This is not. Yes, yes. Daiki-san will definitely tell Ikun to pick girls like Mahirun if he meets her. Chitose gave a somewhat devastated smile, and Amain realized why she went to visit him and Mahiru alone. Did Daiki-san say anything to you? Didn't really, but his expression wasn't really welcoming. Daiki was Itsuki's father. He did not approve of Itsuki and Chitose's relationship. Aman had a chance to chat with Daiki when he visited Itsuki's house, but Daiki did not really seem fond of Chitose, partially because he could not deal with a personality like Chitose's, and also because he wanted Itsuki to get a good woman. One would say that he felt there were better women out there, rather than say that he disliked Chitose outright. Daiki-san doesn't hate you actually, but if you bring Mahirun to him, he'll definitely choose Mahirun. Flarf, that's... Of course, Chitose had her own charms, some of which Mahiru did not have. Daiki probably wanted a Yamato Nadeshiko like Mahiru, however, which Chitose was not. It was not anything Chitose lacked, nor was it her fault, just that they did not get along in interests and personalities. It appeared Chitose was bothered by how Daiki was not fond of her, and she sighed hard. But I don't feel comfortable about being like Mahirun. Ikun told me not to mind, but I do have to be the daughter-in-law, though. I want to ensure this relationship goes well. That's tough. It's not something that can be solved immediately. I think it will take years. I'll try, but some things are just difficult. We'll have to see if we can get along. Chitose gave an awkward smile as she noted, "It will be great if we're accepted like you two." She clung onto Mahiru, who shared some of her shaved ice. Amane really did not know what to say. Mahiru probably did not know what to say either, for she merely caressed Chitose gently. Chitose too fawned and rubbed herself onto Mahiru, asking for more shaved ice. Then, they spotted Itsuki through the crowd, holding the items Chitose wanted in both hands. "I'm not depressed, so don't tell Ikun." Chitose reminded them and showed her usual smile as she went towards Itsuki. Amane and Mahiru watched her leave with conflicted looks. Chapter 166, Excessive Words to the Angel. The trio met up with Itsuki, who returned from his shopping trip, as a gopher. They ate the food and went with the crowd as they enjoyed the stalls. But seriously, there's a lot of people around here. This is the closest festival we have here. We got many stalls, lots of space, and it's common for us to bump into our classmates. But they just retreated in dismay, though. Itsuki quipped happily, and Amane merely shrugged. Mahiru looked stunned to hear that, probably because she was skeptical about the word retreated. She never paid attention to them, let alone show concern for them, and Amane had a small sense of superiority in his heart. I dare say, though, they're trying to attract Mahiru's attention even though I'm here. Amane assumed that the whole school would know Mahiru would never pay attention to anyone other than him, after how they acted in school, but it appeared the others had not given up. He did understand how they felt, however. An innocent, adorable girl who was a male's ideal was right within range. They might find it unacceptable for a countryside kid to suddenly pop by and abduct her. However, Mahiru clearly treated Aman differently from the others, and he really wished they could understand this. She really loves me. Naturally, he already knew about this, but this understanding was reinforced recently. She really treasured and doted him. Of course, he had the same amount of passion towards her as she did to him, but he felt ticklish in this awkward yet proud emotion he felt. "You really love Mahirun, Amane. Your face is shown." "Eh? You're looking friendlier than before. Your eyes, your expression. They look a lot kinder, basically. You're being gentle." I know that I've become friendlier, but if I have to say gentle, it was one thing to say that he had a gentler attitude, but he did not really comprehend her saying that his eyes and expression looked gentle. He was relatively aloof, or so he felt, and could not comprehend her saying that he was gentle. "Say, Mahiru, is it as she said?" Yes. "Really? Anyway. What do you mean, a gentler expression?" "I shall take a photo next time so that you will understand. It is amazing after all." So she said. And he had the notion to stop doting on Mahiru before everyone else, but he had no confidence, since she was that adorable. She blushed, and looked towards him infrequently. For the time being, he caressed her cheeks with his fingers, and did his best to exert tension onto his face. It's useless to try and look tense before us now. Shut up. Mahirun prefers to see your doting side, Amane. Irm? I do like Amane-kun no matter how he is. Dashing, gentle, sexy. Heh, so you've seen Amane looking sexy? Chitosi leered away, but Amane did nothing to be guilty about. He scowled, but he did not panic. They had been dating for at least 2 months, but all they did was to kiss, and nothing more. For the time being, he decided to endure for a while. He would feel that he had obtained her body if he suggested to do that immediately after dating, and he hated that. Mahiru would be the one burdened after all, and he could not simply force the issue. He could consider doing so if Mahiru wished for it, but it appeared she had no such intention, so that was a long shot. We're not doing what you think of. You said it out, huh? Are you just keeping your urges to yourself? Or just being platonic? But you've kissed, right? Nothing to do with you. You told her, didn't you? Aman gently pinched at the hand he held, reproaching Mahiru, who blushed and apologized meekly. She probably mentioned it during their girls' talk, so he did not grumble much, but it was embarrassing to have this pointed out. Chitosi might have felt they were way too late at this stage to be just kissing. You two are really innocent, or Amani's too timid, she noted, and Amani frowned. Nothing bad about that, right? We're going at our own pace. Sure, but I want to say, if you keep a girl waiting, she'll get anxious, so be careful. Chitosa-san, you should be honest now, Mahirun, instead of discussing things like Amani-kun wouldn't kiss me. Do not say this. Mahiru hastily covered Chitosa's mouth, and Amani widened his eyes. Chitosi quickly darted aside, grinning as she enjoyed the sight of Mahiru. Mahiru was athletic, but so was Chitosi, and the former was wearing yukata, which was inconvenient to move in. It appeared Mahiru could not catch Chitosi. Mahirun will get embarrassed, but I find it cute to see her like this. I'm stunned to see you so passive though, Amane. If you keep saying I will not help you with your remaining assignments, that's troubling. Okay, I'll watch my mouth then. Chitosi looked all the more delighted to hear the cute threat, and she smiled as she dragged her finger past her lips, showing that she would be zipping it. Mahiru was shivering in shame, and Amane stared at her. Her face turned redder once she noticed, and she tried to escape, but Amane hastily caught her. He hugged her from behind and gently patted her back to calm her down. It's not convenient to meet up if we get lost, and others will try to woo you. Don't run away now. Oh. I won't look, okay? Aman said he would not look, but he could feel her shivering from shame in his clutches. So he thought, but if he said it out loud, Mahiru might really run away, so he did not. Mahiru then earnestly remained in his clutches and obediently shook herself. Once again, he realized how adorable her earnest self was. Itsuki and Chitose stared at them dumbfoundedly. This is what we mean by that gentle expression of yours. We hate that you don't have any self-awareness at all. They appeared to be whispering, but they said it loud enough for Amani to hear, and his face winced. Mahiru remained in his clutches, however, so he could not reproach them, and merely conveyed his unhappiness on his face. Chapter 167, Angel and the Glutton. Full. Where in the world did all that stuff go? After a stroll around the stalls, Chitose patted her revealed belly and looked relaxed and satisfied. That belly was a little puffier compared to before, but Chitose remained thin. One either had to amazed or dumbfounded at how much food she could store. Phew, sure feels different eating at a festival. Good that you're happy, but don't overeat it. I don't usually eat this much. I'm controlling this. Chitose did have a slender body, and what she said was plausible. Amain was still worried that she might have overeaten. Since she was fine with that, he had nothing to lecture her on. Anyway, You sure you full, Aman? I don't think I've seen you eat much. I intend to eat a little once I get home. Mahiru cooled some stock, so I probably will pour some onto instant rice and make some cold kazuke. Sounds delicious. You still can eat? The stalls looked good, but Mahiru's cooking was a better choice to end the day with. Aman intended to make some rice with the stock she made, and did not eat too much, but he did not think Chitose would still have some appetite. Please eat it next time, Mahiru noted wryly once she saw Chitose's appetite. They saw her eat yakisoba, fried chicken, frankfurters, a fried squid she bought with Mahiru, chocolate banana, and shaved ice. Any boy would be full by now, and Mahiru was probably worried for Chitose's stomach. Amain stared at Chitose's slender waist, wondering where the food went. You perv. Chitose noticed that stare, and squealed as she turned aside, so Amane gave her a blank stare. We'll observe more of Chitose's appetite next time. Let's leave that aside. Whoa, you're cold. What are your plans? It's about time to head back now, right? They did go through the entire place once, and nights arrived late during the summer, but the sky was darkening. It was going to be 8:30 p.m. Amain and Mahiru's places were far away, and it should be time for them to leave considering the travel time. Even though Itsuki was around, it was a bad idea to have Chitose out late at night. We can go back now, but I'm staying over at Mahirun's place tonight. No? Eh? I did put my stuff at her place, and she already agreed, you know? Right. Chitose grinned at Mahiru, who nodded with a wry smile. On a side note, Aman did not have to worry as Mahiru did not look displeased, but he hoped Chitose would have informed beforehand. After all, Aman would be the one buying ingredients, so he would have to buy 3 persons' worth. Chitose continued to show a triumphant look. I should have asked Amane beforehand, and Itsuki lamented so. It was pitiful to see Itsuki return home alone, but he had no change of clothes, and Amane could not help him there. Mahiru agreed, so that should do it, right? Oh my Amane-kun, you don't like it that Mahiru's taken away? Why should I be jealous of a girl? I know she's mine, so it doesn't matter. He was instead jealous that those of the same gender could come and go into the same house as they pleased, rather than not wanting Chitose to be so clingy. He did agree to visit Mahiru's house, but he had to will himself, and was jealous that Chitose could come and go as she pleased. He did not rue the fact that Chitose would be visiting, so he shrugged, and Mahiru continued to blush as she scampered towards Chitose. Chitose-san, that is what I mean. Amane-kun has been like this recently. Oh my, looks like you have it tough, Mahirun. What's with that face? Nothing? Right, Mahirun? Chitose leered in a different manner from when she sought Mahiru's opinion. The latter nodded silently as she clung onto Chitose, looking towards Amane bashfully. Chapter 168 Chitose's Discussion. Aman, come play. What are you doing before bedtime? Chitose was spending the night at Mahiru's place, so Amane spent his time alone after the festival ended. She gave a video call before bedtime, and Amane naturally frowned. He did not dislike the fact that she called him, but that he found it a hassle to get up when he was already lying down, and a little fatigued. Shown on the screen was Chitose's beaming face. Her face is noisy enough. He had such a rude thought about her, and moved the phone next to his pillow. Say, I want to sleep now. Yeah, I know. You're looking like you're going to school. Can I hang up now since you know that? No, please hang up only when Mahirun returns. Where's Mahiru anyway? Bathing. She's not bathing with me today. Chitose made it sound like a pity, but Mahiru's choice to bathe alone was the correct one. Otherwise, Mahiru would probably be worn down during this time she should be relaxing. Mahirun's disappointed that she can't say goodnight to you, so I'm calling over. Don't hang up on me. You expect me to hang up now? You would have hung up if I didn't say so, right? You're too much, she giggled, and suddenly sheathed away that cheerful look as she looked at Amani through the screen. She did not appear to be joking like she was before, and looked poised as though enlightened. The sudden change left Amane confused. Say, Amani, can I ask you something? Ask what? Amane knew that Chitose would ask serious questions whenever she made such a face, so he did not ignore her. Once he answered, Chitose stared at him intently. How much do you like Mahirun? Like as in, since you treasure her so much, I want to ask how much you like her. It was not an easy question to answer. Amani lowered his eyebrows, and Chitose's expression did not change. I think it's just me being biased, but, well, high school students in relationships are usually in the spur of the moment, right? They don't seem serious. They're just fooling around. Did Daiki-san tell you that? Oh my, you're a smart one. Chitose laughed. She did not have any of her usual sharpness and looked devastated. She took the phone, laid on the bed, and sighed gently. I'm not intending to fool around, but I've never taken things seriously, and he didn't think I am. I guess that's why I don't know how many actually look into their own futures. She did show signs of such worries during the festival, and probably was wondering how she could get along with Itsuki's father Daiki in his own way. Itsuki's mother did not care about this, so it appeared she would have to pass that hurdle. Amane slowly spoke up in response to her question. He knew how to answer even without thinking. It's hard for me to say, but I want her to accompany me forever with a smile. He could not express how much he liked Mahiru, and did not know how to describe it. The one thing certain was that he wanted Mahiru to be happy and wanted to treasure her, that she would continue to accompany him with a smile for all of eternity. That was what he truly thought. I see. You aren't the same, Chitose. Of course not. I want Ikun to laugh forever. That should be good enough. If you say so, I think that's fine. It's not going to change no matter what others say. Amani replied with a laugh once he heard her unhappy reply. On the other end, Chitose looked timid. It's annoying how good a person you are. I have to, when I have such a great girlfriend. Whoa, that's smooth, you annoy me. Chitose might have smacked Amani in the back if she was present. She grumbled unhappily, but sounded a little delighted. Mahirun's really doted on, she added, and burst out laughing. She then turned her head around. What are you talking about? A familiar voice could be heard from behind, and it seemed Mahiru was done bathing. She stood behind Chitose, wearing a negligee that exposed relatively little. A trail of flax color swayed, probably because Mahiru went next to Chitose. I'm saying that your boyfriend is a good man, Mahirun. What about Aman-kun? Just talking about life with him. Life? Yes, yes. Chitose gave a really vague answer, and beyond the screen, Mahiru sighed. Chitose was a little perturbed as the atmosphere got a little gaudy, and then Mahiru sat next to Chitose. Is he not going to talk to me? Chitose was stunned to hear such pouty words, and at the next moment moved the phone aside. The phone screen spun, but one could hear a cute kia from Mahiru. It appeared Chitose was doing some skinship on her. You're so cute, Mahirun. I'll keep talking with you until you have enough. Chitose-san, it is dangerous to leap over. Mahiru's reproach sounded really happy, and it seemed she probably did not dislike it. So came Chitose's reply. The front camera turned black, probably because it was buried under the bedsheet, but one could imagine Chitose getting on top of Mahiru. I like you, Mahirun. I like you too. I stole Mahirun's like from Amane. Amani-kun is special. Mahiru picked up the phone and explained with a frantic voice. Amani chuckled. Well, I know that. Ooh. You second-gen Bakoppel. Shut up first-gen. Chitose and Itsuki were no better, and Amani did not want to lecture them. All right. Go to sleep now, girls. Staying up late's not going to be good for your skins, Aman said as he had a look at the time, since the topic was ending. It was past 11 p.m., and Mahiru usually did not stay up late, so she probably was tired enough to sleep, especially since she went around in the yukata, which she was unused to wearing. In fact, even though Mahiru was blushing as she snatched Chitose's phone, she clearly was looking tired, and it was not good to chat for long. I never thought I would hear these words from Aman, but I guess so, Hanging up now, you okay, Mahirun? Mahiru probably understood why Chitose contacted Amani when prompted, and she widened her eyes in shock before giving Amani a gentle smile. Eh, ah, good night, Amane-kun. See you tomorrow. Oh, night. See you tomorrow. I would have patted her head if she's next to me. So he thought, but he wanted the two girls to have fun, so he did not express his thoughts, and instead smiled back at Mahiru, who wanted to enjoy this stayover. Chapter 169, Unfinished Assignments. Save me, Amane. Nope. Chitose held the mechanical pencil and grumbled as she faced the table. Aman refused her and blatantly rolled his eyes at her. It seemed she's stayed over at Mahiru's place because she had to finish her assignments and naturally came over to Amani's place to do her assignments, probably to pull him along for the ride. However, Amani was done with his assignments a month ago, was left with revision, and had no need to panic. He had no need to anxiously study on the table, so he sat on the sofa, looked at the magazine, and stared down at Chitose. Your fault for not finishing your assignments until the last moment. Mind planning a little? How about you suffer a little at the start and finish your assignments, rather than end your summer vacations in a poor mental state and mood? You'll enjoy the rest of your time if you do that. Ooh, you did your assignments with Itsuki the last time, right? Now he's done. He did it little by little every day, and you wouldn't be like this if you learned from him. Ugh. Anyway, why do you think things will get solved if you ask others for help? You're the one who has to do the assignments. You're suffering because you've been lazy all this while. Stop struggling and do your assignments. That'll get things done faster. Mahirun Amane's bullying me. Aman felt he was right, but Chitose begged Mahiru for clemency. It so happened that Mahiru returned with Chitose's share of fruit juice, the glass of orange liquid on the tray. You cannot be too harsh on her, Amane-kun. Mahiru coaxed with a wry smile and handed over some juice to Aman. See? Chitose got gleeful, her eyes basically hinting that Aman should be more like Mahiru. However, Mahiru did not appear to side Chitose completely. She appeared to be more biased towards Amane. It was for this reason that she had long finished her assignments and started her own revision. Mahiru was one to prioritize doing things little by little, but she had already finished her assignments. She once said that it was bad to hurry and finish them at the last moment, so she did all she had and revised regularly to ensure she would not forget what she studied. Amane was a little relieved that she had the same thought process. With a gentle smile, Mahiru placed Chitose's orange juice on the table and gently placed her hand on Chitose's shoulder. Chitose-san, do your best. You too, Mahirun. After all, I did ask you at the start of summer vacation if you want to do assignments together, but you wanted to play first. Ooh, 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 ooh. You reap what you sow. Mahiru invited Chitose, but the latter chose to play. There was no need to pity the latter. Chitose-san, with me around, you should be fine even with many assignments. Mahirun. Anyway, you should be able to finish half of it before dinner if you keep at it. No. No. Mahiru naturally severed off Chitose's lifeline, driving the latter to despair. She's pitiful, Aman thought callously as he stared at Chitose, drinking the orange juice Mahiru served. Amane did plan to take over if they had trouble, or if Mahiru was too tired to teach. But Chitose would get too cocky if they pampered her too much, so he chose to be harsh in moderation. Don't wanna. Chitose moaned away as she started on her assignments unwillingly, and Amane stared at her sidelong face, thinking that he should buy some sweets later. Chapter 170 Bait is to be dangled in front. I'm tired. Chitose kept writing her assignments, took a little break midway through, and at this point she was rolling on the carpet, fawning around. It seemed she was really tired. Chitose was wearing shorts, so it was fine. But he would have seen her panties if she was wearing a skirt. Aman clearly looked bewildered. What happens if you roll about and spill your juice? I'll just get down and beg for mercy. Better not spill it instead of sacrificing this much of your dignity. It'll be troublesome to clean up the carpet and your clothes if you spill it. Mahiru cautiously removed the two glasses that were on the table, so that was not an issue. Nevertheless, a mishap could have happened if it continued. A man would not be angry even if the juice was spilled onto the carpet, but he really hoped this would not happen, considering the effort required to clean it. Be honest, you, Mahiru too reproached. The wry smile showed that Mahiru had no intention to actually stop Chitose, for she knew that the latter would be worn out if she had no brakes. Ooh, I'll just go to Mahirun's lap since there's nowhere to go to. Hold it. That's my place. Wah, you miser. Can I, Mahirun? If Amane-kun says no, then no. Mahiru lowered her eyes and shook her head, acting somewhat stiff. Chitose did not look displeased by Mahiru's gesture, and instead showed a happy smile. I don't get a lap pillow, but as long as you're happy, Mahirun. Mahiru appeared to be more bashful than delighted, but her face started to blush and relax, so Chitose was probably right. Perhaps Mahiru was delighted to hear the word my place. Go enjoy it in my place, then. I'll be motivated to write seeing you enjoy yourself. Like hell. I know you just want to joke around. She's not going to run away because she's mine, and I'll do it when you're not around. So you'll do it? I have the privilege. Whatever. I'll buy sweets for you, so hurry up with your assignments. Really? Chitose suddenly jolted with sparkling eyes, and once again, Amane was painfully aware of how realistic she was. I've been waiting for these words, she chuckled, causing Amane and Mahiru to smile wryly. So a reward's a reward. I'll go buy some if you get serious. Goody goody, you really are magnanimous, Amane. The usual shop I go to then, cheesecake, souffle. That's a tall order, though it's not that far. The shop was a little further from the nearby patisserie, and more expensive, but they were about the same. Mahiru too seemed fond of that shop, so Amane was not opposed. What about you, Mahiru? Me. How about Mahirun go with you? Nope. You'll definitely slack. I don't want her walking out there in the heat. How little do you trust me? But since you're a gentleman, Amane, I'll endure for now. I don't feel like buying yours then. Then what is the point of the reward? So shut up and do your assignments. Amane ignored Chitose's doubtful look and asked Mahiru what she wanted. Chocolate cake. So the response, and he stood up. Cakes would not sell well in the summer, but there was always a chance that they would be sold out, so it was better to hurry out. Now then, let's go. Amane took his wallet, left the living room, and Mahiru discreetly followed. It appeared she intended to send him off, and as he sat the entrance and put on his sneakers, Mahiru knelt down on one knee next to him. What? I apologize for making you go out in this hot weather. It's fine. I'm the one who said it anyway. More importantly, keep an eye on Chitose. Fufu, she may usually act like that, but she is very serious if she has to. You know? I know that. Just keep an eye on her. Make sure she rests adequately, and get her to work hard. Yes. Mahiru nodded with a smile, and Amane too smiled as he stood up. I'll be leaving then. Amane-kun, please wait a moment. Amane turned around as Mahiru called for him, and she suddenly latched onto his chest. The sudden situation had him stunned, and she gently reached her arms around his back, hugging him. The faint fragrance and softness left him stifled. He resisted the urge to cry out, patted Mahiru's head for the time being, and she narrowed her eyes in a ticklish manner, lifting her head. I am a little tired from studying. Please give me some extra. She muttered softly, and Amane could not help but hug her. Her eyes looked bashful, but there was a smile on her face. I'm not letting go if you say so. That will not do. Chitose-san will be sad. Until she returns home then, okay? Of course. Mahiru nodded and buried her face into his chest. Amane made up his mind to settle this quickly and return home. Chapter 171, The Delivered Letter. After buying cakes for Chitose and Mahiru, Amane returned to his apartment and found that thing inside the letterbox at the entrance of the apartments. An anonymous letter was mixed amidst the usual adverts. To Aman Fujimiya, so the fine handwriting on the letter. Amane had no idea who delivered it, casually flipped it, and doubted his eyes. The sender's name was on the back, Asahi Shiina. Mahiru's dad, huh? Amon knew that Mahiru's mother was named Seo, and not the name listed on the letter. Also, that man was probably the only one who knew of Amane. He probably witnessed Mahiru welcoming him back then, and a simple investigation would show how intimate Amane and Mahiru. However, Amon did not understand why the man purposely delivered a letter to him. It was one thing to deliver to his own daughter, and he did not think it was necessary to deliver it to his daughter's boyfriend. Mahiru said that her father was callous towards her, but if that was the case, he would not have dropped by to observe. Amon could not understand the father's intentions at all. Caught in a dilemma, Amane decided to return home and open the letter once Chitose left, so he slipped it into his bag. "You seem amiss after returning home. Did something happen?" Chitose returned home after grumbling and finishing about 70% of her assignments, so Mahiru leaned over to look at Amon. Amani intended to open the letter once Mahiru went home, but it appeared the latter noticed that he had been hiding something from her. However, it would be more appropriate to say that Amane did not know what was written on it, rather than outright trying to hide from her. He felt it was best if Mahiru would not realize so easily, but since she was suspicious, perhaps it would be more appropriate if he never hid this matter to begin with. Well, it is not that I have to know, if you do not wish to inform me." Mahiru clearly respected Amane's opinion, and Amani put his feet on the floor, looking at her. "Not that I don't want to tell you, but you may not want to listen. What I do not want to." Is that so? She probably noticed it involved her parents, and showed a faint, wry smile. "Is that man still nearby?" "Not at all. I received a letter." "A letter? From who?" "The name's Asahi Shiina. That is my father." Mahiru nodded tersely, not looking as rattled as Amane would have imagined. She seemed blasé rather than shaken by it, and a little taken aback. Her eyes looked a little colder, however, probably because of how her parents had treated her. "Anyway, I am curious as to why he sent a letter to you, Amon-kun, and how did he know of our relationship, but that has nothing to do with me, I believe. You're not concerned about what's written on it. I do not have an interest in peeking at others' letters. The sender may be my father, but the recipient is you." Amon felt that he was too concerned about her, given her adamant reply, and she ended up worrying about him instead. However, it seemed that Mahiru would rather not get involved rather than accept the situation. Her eyes drifted aside slightly and did not look as calm as usual. "You may read. Shall I move away for now?" she asked with an icy tone, and Amane shook his head with a wry look. Well, I hope you'll stay by my side. I don't mind if you don't like this idea, but I'm a little nervous to read a letter from my girlfriend's parent. I shall remain here then. It is up to you to decide whether to read the letter's contents to me." Mahiru started reading the textbooks on the table. Amane sighed and looked the letter from the bag next to him. The letter was sealed really tightly. He opened it cautiously and read the contents. Simply put, the sender wanted to meet Amane face to face to have a chat, and included his contact. Why me? Is he not going to check on Mahiru's situation? Amane had no idea why he, someone who was completely unrelated, was invited out. "Looks like he wants to meet me. Not his own daughter, but you. Amane-kun." "I see." Mahiru's voice became more frosty, and Amane instinctively patted Mahiru's head, who felt ticklish and narrowed her eyes. "No, I am not angry. I simply do not understand what he means, why he wants to meet you. I guess it's because a guy's approaching his daughter. That is impossible. Why would he ask now given that he ignored me all this time? How shall I deal with this? I shall not stop you from meeting him." It seemed Mahiru really intended to leave it to Amane, for her reply was very blasé. But I do not think you have to worry. He is a failure as a father, but he is not someone to threaten others. I should not be saying this as someone who do not understand my father, however. Mahiru, I do not know what he is planning, but rest assured he is not the kind to harm others. You are free to meet him, Amane-kun, Mahiru said, and leaned onto Amane. I see. Amane gently muttered and looked at the letter again. Chapter 172, Asahi Shiina. It was the last day of summer vacation. Aman found the person he wanted to meet at a cafe not too far from home and straightened his back. Standing before Amane was a man with a familiar-looking flax-colored hair, caramel-colored eyes, white skin, and a poised demeanor. Amane once brushed him by and chatted. They never gave their names, but Amane had already heard of the man's name from Mahiru. Asahi Shiina-san. He called out, and the man, Asahi Shiina, turned his eyes towards Amane, showing a faint smile. This is our first encounter or not? Though I shall say this is the first time we are meeting while knowing each other. Oh yes, I heard from Mahiru. The man did not seem to falter when Amane mentioned her name directly, and he probably had this investigated thoroughly. Asahi then showed a faint wry smile once he heard that. He did not have a feeble impression but a gentle one, and on first glance, he did not seem like one who would mercilessly abandon Mahiru. I suppose this saves us some explanation. May I have some of your time? That's the reason why you called me out, I suppose. Yes, I am very grateful that you would accept my hasty request. I suggested it, but I never expected you to agree. Well, I'm very curious as to why you would call me out, but I think you shouldn't be looking for me, but Mahiru instead. You say so, but that child might not wish to meet me. Asahi showed a wry smile, filled with regret it seemed. Amane was furious about Mahiru's situation and found Asahi unforgivable, but he did not think Asahi was not a compassionate man, for the latter would not have silently tried to approach his own daughter otherwise. And thus Aman was increasingly skeptical. Asahi tickled his cheek, looking perturbed. Perhaps because he had noticed Amane's probing eyes. You have lots to ask me, I presume? Let us enter that cafe first then, and not ask so much here. Amane nodded in agreement, since they should not stand too long near a cafe, and entered it along with Asahi. Order as you wish. It is the last day of summer vacation after all, and I troubled you by inviting you out. Aman did occasionally visit this cafe, which had suite rooms for booking. It seemed Asahi had pre-arranged a booking, for they were ushered in. They sat down face to face, and the genial-looking Asahi smiled as he recommended dishes to Amane. I shall accept your graciousness then, Amane replied, and ordered the coffee and daily cake special on the menu. Asahi too requested for the same from the attendant. His face remained serene, and he was silent until the dishes were served. Asahi was silent, probably because he did not want the attendant to overhear them, but Amane found it awkward to be facing a man of similar age to his own father. Aman sorted out the things he wanted to ask, wanting to alleviate this awkwardness. After doing so 3 times, their orders were finally served. So, what do you want? Once he made sure the attendant left, Amane spoke up. It was rude of him, but Asahi did not seem to mind and smiled away. I heard you are dating my daughter, so I want to ask you how that child is doing probably. Nothing special. You are really wary of me. Of course. Yes, it is strange if you are not wary of me. Asahi nodded understandingly, and Amane bit his lips, not knowing what to do. He could have acted defiantly if Asahi was as aloof to his own daughter as the mother, and various others means. However, the impression he gave was one who was worried about his daughter, and really unlike someone who abandoned her. By this conversation alone, Amane would have assumed him to be a kind father. Amane was curious as to why Asahi abandoned Mahiru. I really want to ask, why are you making the effort to approach Mahiru right now? Right now, Aman spoke with a bemeaning tone, for he saw how hurt Mahiru was. The thorns on her had never fallen off for years and caused her much suffering. They finally fell off recently, and the wounds were healed. But if new wounds were inflicted, how would he find it bearable? You really do treasure that child. Asahi did not retaliate with harshness and merely looked impressed, and yet delighted, at Amane. I have no intentions of taking that child away, and do not intend to do anything you worry about, anything to affect that child's life. Really? Naturally, at the very least, I have no right to interfere with that child's life, and I do not intend to. Then why did you try to look for Mahiru? You ask that, but I do find it difficult to explain. I just want to meet her. Even though you abandoned Mahiru? Amane knew he should not say this as an outsider. But despite that, he could not forgive Mahiru's parents for what they did to her. Amane showed clear hostility, which he hardly did, but Asahi was not angry and merely took on that glare with calmness. That truly is direct from you, yes. I do feel that at this point, I have no right to be that child's father. I doubt that child really thinks of me as her father, probably just an outsider who is merely blood-related. That's what she's thinking, so I guess you understand what you did. I cannot shun away from what I have done, Sayo. I have not done anything that a parent should do, and we basically abandoned her. It is to be expected that we would be reproached. Aman bit his lips hard once he saw how Asahi calmly and gently analyzed what they did in an objective manner. Why didn't you do so earlier? Why did they not reflect on their actions earlier? If that was the case, Mahiru might not be so hurt. She might not be able to get the love from her mother, but there was a chance she could have received it from her father and could have been smiling happily. Why did he only regret it at this point? Aman did not know to whom he should be outraged at. Aman might not have the right to be outraged, and his fury might seem unreasonable. But despite that, he had this notion. Why did he not help her out a little earlier? If they found it inconvenient, they should not have given birth to me. Who do you think said that? That's Mahiru herself. You drove her to that extent. Yes. Amane tried his best to stop his voice from shaking and finished with a poised voice. The response he had was an expression that accepted everything, which infuriated him further. Why didn't you have such an attitude in the first place, rather than abandon Mahiru and regret it now? Mahiru wouldn't be that hurt if that happened. You are correct. I do know that I did the worst thing possible as a father. But seriously, why do you want to meet Mahiru right now? I don't want to let you two meet if she's going to be hurt from seeing you. I know that I'm talking too much as an outsider, but if Mahiru's going to be hurt, I'm not letting you meet her. Logically speaking, he should not be preventing a father from meeting his dog there, but Mahiru refused to meet her father, and Aman's tone was increasingly forceful. Asahi sheepishly took on Amane's harsh glare and showed a bitter smile. Why I want to meet that child, you ask? Why exactly? Are you avoiding the topic? I am not intending to, but it is difficult to convey in words well. I want to meet her while I have the chance. You mean you won't get to meet her again? Or that you won't intend to meet her again? Yes. Asahi affirmed, and bitterness spread in Amane's mouth. That is selfish. Yes, it really is. I do not intend to change this, and I can no longer do so. I do not intend to inflict more unhappiness on that child, however, so I think it might be better for me to hate me instead. I don't understand what you're saying. You will understand one day. Amane understood from Asahi's distant-looking eyes that the latter was not prepared to mention anything more, and stopped asking. Is there anything you wish to ask? Nothing. That's it. Shall I ask a question then? Please do. Is that child happy now? Amane, not knowing what Asahi would have asked, postured himself, and Asahi asked with a gentle look. His voice and expression seemed to imply that he was wishing happiness for his daughter. So Amane let out a little sigh of relief. You need to ask her, but I do wish I can ensure her happiness. I have confidence that I will, and that I will make her happiness. It was his wish, his confidence, and his determination. Amane had no intention of abandoning the kind, delicate girl who yearned for love more than anyone else. He hoped for her to maintain a smile the entire time, and wanted to personally grant her happiness. He made up his mind to give her happiness, and had no intention to change this will of his, no matter what others say. Aman's voice was not too loud, but it was indomitable. Once he affirmed so readily, the caramel-colored eyes opposite him widened, and at the next moment relaxed in relief. I see. I am glad to hear you say that. The gentle smile was really reminiscent of Mahiru's, I have no right to ask of you, but I shall entrust that child to you. Obviously, I'll make her happy. I see, thank you. Amon's voice and attitude were truly vulgar, and he would have expected to be reproached, but Asahi was smiling happily. Feeling inexplicably conflicted, there's nothing to thank me for. Amon retorted with a tone that was not as blunt. Chapter 173, Won't Let You Be Alone. Amane returned home after bidding farewell to Asahi. Mahiru was seated on the sofa, looking calm, as normal. Usually she would welcome Amane at the door if she was at his place, but this was the one day it did not happen. Mahiru was being strangely uneasy and seemed to be forcing herself to relax, if anything. She did not let down her guard and looked towards Amane. I'm done talking. I see. The frosty-sounding voice was not directed at Amane, but rather that she was working hard to remain calm. Amani tried his best to show a kind expression and silently sat next to her. Once he did, Mahiru gently nudged her body towards him. She was not acting sickeningly sweet like usual, but of one who needs solace. She's probably feeling uneasy. She might try to look nonchalant, but the fact remained that the father who abandoned her for years was looking for her boyfriend. She did not think her father was one to be overbearing, but she was somewhat worried. Nothing that you're worried about. He's a lot more composed than I imagined. Is that so? Do I talk about what we chatted? As you wish. Please do tell me if you think it is better for me to know. So Mahiru said, but it seemed she was terrified of hearing those contents. Amane held her hands that were about to shiver. He felt he should inform her after all. He did not understand what Asahi was thinking, why he did not meet his own daughter, but the boyfriend. But at the very least he should inform Mahiru that Asahi was not intending to inflict further pain on her. Well, I can be sure that Asahi-san's not going to do anything to you. He said he's not going to break up your current life. That is good. And also he didn't tell me all the reasons why he didn't want to see you, just that he's not going to see you again, so he wanted to have a look at you one last time until that happens. Upon hearing that, Mahiru muttered, why did he have to appear when he never did? However, her voice was filled with bitterness, rather than condescension. I don't think Asahi-san feels that you're unimportant, and it looks like he really wishes for your happiness, and it was for this reason that Amane was perplexed. Why did Asahi only wish for his daughter's happiness at this point? Why did he not abandon her to begin with, rather than regret it? Mahiru would not have to be so lonely. Amon finished his words with much difficulty, and Mahiru gently sighed. To be honest, I do not understand how my parents are like. Her voice was soft as she tried to form words, yet it was clear. My impression of my parents is that they could just pay someone to raise me, that they are outsiders who are just blood-related. Mahiru flatly noted her true thoughts, looking stiffer than usual, and a little devoid of life. They never cared for me no matter what happened, no matter how obedient I acted, and never held my hands no matter how I tried to reach out. It is to be expected that I will never reach out to them, that I no longer have hope. Amon had a feeling that Mahiru never had hope for her parents, for she never received care and concern. He did not think this was a wrong judgment. She understood inside her childish heart that her parents never loved her, that she could not hope for anything, and it was to be expected that she stopped desiring for them, out of self-defense. I know my father's capable at work, and is a decent person, but the fact remains that he never cared about me. I do not know how to deal with him, and truth be told, I am very conflicted about him suddenly showing care for me again. Yes. Really? Why did he show up again? Yes. If he had appeared a little sooner, Mahiru did not continue. Amane could only hear her quivering breath. Soon, she closed her mouth. She pursed her lips nervously and blinked frequently, looking on the verge of tears. She did not cry, however, and it seemed she was quietly waiting for the turmoil inside her heart to pass. She looked so weak and fleeting, and Amane embraced her, burying her face into his chest. Back then, Amane covered her with a blanket when she met her mother. This time, he had nothing to cover her, so he embraced her, accepting her. The slender body in his clutches shivered, but there was no sobbing. She probably had no intention to lift her head and leaned into him, burying her face into his chest for a while. She lifted her head, and her eyes were not red. She probably did cool down a little while in his clutches, and while her eyes appeared to falter a little, she did not seem to be in much pain. "What do you want to do?" Once Amane saw that she had calmed down, he asked, and she lowered her eyes. "I do not know, but I think this is for the best. Given that he only showed up now, I cannot ascertain him correctly to be my father." "I see. Is it strange for me as a daughter?" "Everyone has a different interpretation of this, and I can't really conclude for all. I think, though, that it's not weird for you to have such thoughts, and I won't deny it. If you think so, that's good. I'll support your decision." Yes, it was not up to Aman to determine if it was strange. Personally looking, it was no wonder that Mahiru could not view her parents as her parents, for they never did anything a parent should do. They never gave Mahiru love, and it would be troubling for her if she had to treat them as her parents. "I support your decision. I'm just an outsider, and I can't really interfere with your family issues. But I'll respect your opinion and support you no matter what happens." "Yes, I'll always stay by your side, so if there's anything you're unsure of, you can always rely on me." Amane had made up his mind that he had no intention of abandoning Mahiru and love her with all his mind. He once heard from his parents' friends that the Fujimiyas had overflowing love, and he found that he too was no exception, so he chuckled. He felt that his feelings for Mahiru would never disappear. It was not a prediction, but a belief. He never was one to change his preferences, so that too should apply for the one he loved. Once the adorable girl heard Amane's words, she frowned, wrapped her arms around his back, as though implying that she would never let him go. "Will you really stay by my side?" "Of course. I will not go back then. Please do no leave me alone. Will you accept me if I say that?" Upon hearing the depressing mutter, "Of course," Amani flatly answered. "If you're willing, you can stay here forever. We're going to be staying together in a few years away. So how about we practice it?" Mahiru probably understood Amani's intent in that joke of a question, and her face, on the verge of tears, immediately turned beetroot. Amani too felt awkward, as he knew what he had just said. But once he saw Mahiru's eyes roll around, her face freezing in embarrassment, he felt at ease. "Don't worry, you're not going to be alone. Give up on that notion." Chapter 174, The Morning After Summer Vacation Ended. It was the first morning of the new semester, and once Amani woke up, he instinctively looked towards the side, found no one next to him, and was disappointed. Mahiru intended to stay overnight, but probably was overwhelmed by what Amane said, for she hurried home immediately after dinner. Amane did not intend to act, but she was concerned by what he said. "I do not hate this, but I have to go back and calm down." That was what she said when she got up and left, and Amane just watched her leave, given that he realized that he achieved his aim of consoling her and putting her uneasiness to rest. "I'll definitely be happy to hug her little body to sleep," so he thought as he got up, got changed, only to hear a door creak open. It was the first day of school right after summer vacation, and Mahiru appeared earlier than usual. He changed into his uniform, got out of his room, and saw Mahiru standing at the kitchen entrance, wearing an apron. "Ah, good morning." Mahiru greeted somewhat hesitantly, and Amani snickered. It was obvious that she was still mindful of him. "Morning? Slept well?" "Somewhat. I am bothered because of you, though, Amane-kun." "You hate that? Please do not ask me so when you already know." Mahiru blushed as she dope-slapped him with her gloved hand, and he started laughing without a shred of conscience, went to the washroom, and tidied himself. "Why are you looking at me?" "Well, I think you're so adorable when you're embarrassed. I think it is bad of you to tease me more. It's fine if it's just you." Mahiru remained embarrassed at the dining table. Amani stared at her, and she started to pout a little, or rather a deliberate act to hide her embarrassment. She still recalled the events that transpired the previous day. Baka, and muttered before taking a bite of omelet. She was reproaching Amane, but it sounded so adorable. The slightly pursed lips were probably because of Amane's attitude. She was miffed, but she remained elegant in how she ate breakfast, which was comforting. Amane gave her a warm stare, and she seemed to have noticed it as she gave him a reluctant look. "What is it?" "Nothing. I just feel blessed to be able to have a good breakfast together with you." "I do feel blessed too, but you are deliberately saying so now, are you not?" "That's for you to figure out," Amane said, and Mahiru gently kicked at his feet under the table. Amane stopped teasing her as she continued to eat with a bashful look and slightly continued with his breakfast. Chapter 175, Going to School. "I believe you did not forget anything, no?" Aman sorted his clothes again after breakfast and was about to head out when Mahiru called out to me. He probably did not forget anything, since he did prepare beforehand. They would be in school for half the day. No need for textbooks, and probably only indoor slippers, stationery assignments, and some forms to be submitted. He did put them all in a bag, checked through them, and it should be fine. "I don't think so." "Really? Why are you not trusting me at all? Did you not forget this?" Mahiru said, looking somewhat dumbfounded. She showed Aman the designated school tie, which Amani found it too stuffy to wear, and intended to do so later. "Ah," he instinctively blurted, and heard Mahiru sigh. "You are participating in an after-holiday assembly. You should take note of your appearance." Mahiru grumbled as she got ready to put the tie on Amane, who was strangely apologetic as he bent down. Aman would put on his tie every day before summer vacation, and could do it on his own, but he had no intention to refuse her help when she wanted to do it. Mahiru put on the tie with a grim look, and Amane smiled. She's going to be embarrassed again once she realizes what she's doing. Mahiru took the initiative to act like a newlywed, and he was glad. Aman was really grateful that she was willing to do so, showing concern for him, and actually doing it naturally. What he would be most delighted with was that he could see her looking embarrassed once she realized what she did. He saw her passionately put on his tie, and she probably noticed something amiss in his expression, for she gave him a doubtful look. "What is it?" "No, it's nothing. Just thinking that you're cute, Mahiru. It does seem you have assumed that you can bluff your way through by calling me cute." "Nope. But it's a fact that you're cute. Even if you keep saying so, well, it is fine if it is only directed to me," Mahiru said somewhat enthusiastically, and quickly latched his tie. Amane controlled his smile and did not intend to keep teasing her again. Instead, he patted her head and held her hand. "Let's go then. It feels like I have been misdirected once again." "You're overthinking it." Amane played dumb, slung his bag, picked up Mahiru's, and went for the door. Mahiru wanted to carry it herself, but Amane could not leave everything to her. He might really be relying on her thoroughly if he could not do this much at least. Amane showed no intention of budging, and Mahiru's cheeks relaxed as she looked somewhat happy before she gently ribbed her head onto his elbow. "What? It is nothing. Doesn't feel like it. Since you said it was nothing, it is the same for me. You're making it difficult for me to ask." "Ah, whatever. It's nothing, all right." Aman chuckled, put on his shoes at the door, and left home together with Mahiru. "I'm leaving," he muttered to himself, and Mahiru stared at Amane for a while before imitating him. "I am leaving." Aman's cheeks relaxed in joy as he quietly noted to himself that this was the home Mahiru would return to, and Mahiru did not ask further. The reason was that Mahiru herself was blushing a little, smiling away. There was no way she could nitpick about Amane at this point. So Aman held the hand of the blissful Mahiru, who grabbed it in return